My dear, tonight I am going to give you 7 little words that can lift you out of lack as surely as the tide lifts a ship. They are not charms. They are not superstition. They are spiritual law set into motion by your own spoken word. You did not find this message by accident. People do not stumble into truth. Truth calls them. And I know why you're here. Because money has been sitting on your chest like a weight. Because you're tired of the tightening, tired of calculating, tired of that silent fear that whispers, "What if tomorrow is worse?" But listen, God is not a hard taskmaster. Life was never meant to be a struggle of clenched fists. The trouble is, most people have been trained to speak against themselves all day long, and then they wonder why the universe echoes their words back like a faithful servant. Tonight, I will show you the thing the world forgets. Your words are alive. They are not merely sounds, they are commands. Your spoken word is your wand, and your imagination is the workshop where it takes form. And here is the miracle hidden in plain sight, so plain that people walk right over it. The most powerful name you will ever speak is not distant. It is not reserved for saints. It is the name you use constantly. I am. Whatever you join to I am, you are setting into motion. If you say, I am unlucky, you are literally signing the order for more disappointment. If you say, I am always behind, you are fastening yourself to delay. But if you say, with quiet authority, I am divinely supplied, you have opened the door for unexpected channels and perfect provision. Stay with me, don't rush, because in a moment, I will give you 7 words, simple, clean, and powerful words you can speak at night, when the mind grows still, when fear loosens its grip, and the soul becomes receptive to the good that already belongs to you. And when you learn to speak them with faith, real faith, not strain, then you will begin to see what I have seen. Life rearranges itself to meet a spoken decree. Now, let us begin at the beginning. Let us clean up the words you have been attaching to, I am. Because the moment you change that, you change everything. My dear, let us begin right where power begins, with a promise so bold it wakes up your soul. Because when God is ready to change a life, He does not whisper timidly, He speaks with certainty. Tonight you will hear 7 words so simple that the proud mind will scoff, and yet so exact that the humble heart will feel them like truth. And I tell you plainly, if you will speak them with conviction, you will set divine law into motion. Not luck, not chance, not maybe, law. People are always hunting for a secret outside themselves. They chase a new method, a new number, a new person to rescue them. But the kingdom of heaven is within you, and the key to that kingdom is your spoken word. Your word is not decoration. Your word is command. It is the wand in your hand. And I know exactly why you are here. You are here because money has been pressing on your mind like a constant drumbeat. You wake up and feel it. You try to relax, and it follows you. Bills, debts. The weight of not enough. That dull fear that says, what if something happens and I can't handle it? It is exhausting, isn't it? It steals your peace before it ever steals your purse. But listen carefully, you were not created to live in strain. Strain is not spiritual. Worry is not wisdom. Fear is not responsibility. Fear is simply a habit of the imagination trained in the wrong direction. And here is the good news. If your life has been shaped by words spoken in ignorance, it can be reshaped by words spoken in understanding. The same power that has been working against you can begin working for you immediately. Now, I must tell you something that will shock the practical mind. The world will teach you to look at money like a master, like a thing that rules you, controls you, humiliates you. But money has no intelligence. It has no will. It is a servant, a symbol, a channel. And the channel is always governed by the consciousness behind it. That is why I say these 7 words are not a charm. They are not superstition. They are not something you repeat while secretly panicking. No. These words are a living decree, the kind of decree that rearranges circumstances, opens unexpected doors, and brings supply through avenues you could not have forced with effort. And if you stay with me, I will not only give you the words, I will show you how to plant them. Because there is a way to speak that is weak and empty, and there is a way to speak that is charged. There are words people say like parrots, flat, lifeless, full of doubt, and then they complain, "It didn't work." And there are words spoken like a royal command, quiet, sure, unbothered words that carry the feeling of completion. Those words do not return void. So I'm going to guide you step by step, just as I would guide a dear friend sitting across from me at the table, hands tired, heart tired, mind tired. And I'm going to ask you for one thing only. Do not hurry. Do not treat this lightly. Because when you hear these 7 words, a part of you will recognize them, not because you learned them in school, but because the soul remembers truth. And when the soul remembers, life begins to change. Now, let me tell you what is really happening beneath the surface. Your mind has been making agreements with lack, agreements with delay, agreements with not yet. And you may not have realized you signed them, but you signed them with your spoken word and your inner conversations. Tonight, we tear up those contracts. Tonight, you learn to speak in a new way so the universe hears you clearly. So divine intelligence moves on your behalf. So supply comes, not with strain, but with surprising ease. And by the end of this teaching, you will not feel like a beggar hoping for crumbs. You will feel like what you truly are. An heir to abundance, under grace, guided, protected, and provided for. Now, before I give you the 7 words, you must understand the first principle, because without this, people repeat phrases and wonder why nothing changes. Here it is. Your life follows your I am. Because whatever follows I am is the road you have been walking on without even realizing it. My dear, most people believe life is pressing on them from the outside. They think circumstances are the cause and feelings are the effect. But divine law works in the opposite direction. Feeling comes first. Assumption comes first. Circumstance follows obediently behind. And that is why so many good, sincere people are exhausted. They pray, yet they pray from fear. They work harder, yet they work with strain. They hope, yet underneath the hope, there is a quiet agreement with failure that whispers, "It never really works for me." I have watched people labor faithfully for years and remain stuck, not because they were unworthy, not because God withheld from them, but because they were unknowingly speaking against themselves all day long. They say, "I'm just getting by." They say, "Money comes and goes." They say, "Things always work out for others, not me." And then they wonder why life keeps answering them in the same tone. You see, the universe is not judging your words, it is obeying them. It does not argue. It does not correct you. It simply says, "Very well," and goes to work. And here is where people become discouraged. They say, "But I prayed. I asked God. I tried to be positive." Yes, but prayer without understanding becomes pleading, and pleading is an admission of lack. There is a vast difference between saying words and making a decree. One comes from fear, the other comes from authority. Let me be very gentle with you here, because this is not about blame, it is about awakening. You were taught to look outside yourself for permission. Permission from the economy, permission from timing, permission from other people's approval. But divine supply does not wait for permission. It responds to alignment. And alignment begins when you stop rehearsing your problems and start withdrawing your attention from them. Because attention is fuel. Whatever you keep emotionally alive, you are feeding. I have seen people say, "I don't talk about money problems," yet they feel them constantly, and feeling is speech. Feeling is prayer. Feeling is assumption in motion. That tightness in the chest when a bill arrives? That is a statement. That sinking feeling when you check your balance? That is a decree. And until that inner conversation changes, the outer one cannot. Now here is the part most people miss, and I want you to hear this slowly. God does not respond to effort. God responds to consciousness. You do not have to convince life to bless you. You only have to stop contradicting the blessing that already seeks expression through you. That is why some people seem lucky. They are not lucky. They are simply unafraid to assume good. They expect things to work, and expectation is a powerful command. So tonight, we are not fixing the world. We are not fighting circumstances. We are not forcing outcomes. We are changing the inner agreement you have been living under. And once that agreement shifts, money, opportunity, favor, and supply begin to move, often quietly, often surprisingly, but always lawfully. Now, before we go any further, you must understand the most sacred truth of all, the truth hidden in Scripture, spoken at the burning bush, whispered in every moment of your life. Because once you understand who I am really is, you will never speak casually again. Because I am is not just a phrase you use. It is the name of God in action. My dear, when Moses stood before the burning bush and asked, "Whom shall I say sent me?" the answer was not a title, not a rank, not a distant name reserved for heaven. The answer was simple, direct, and eternal. I am that I am. Do you see the wonder of it? God did not give Moses a label. God gave him an identity you use every single day, often without awareness. Every time you say, I am, you are touching the creative power of the universe at its source. And whatever you fasten to that name, good or bad, must take form. This is where people unknowingly break the commandment. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. They think it means profanity. It does not. It means never attach God's name to a false belief about yourself. When you say, I am broke, you have taken the holiest name and joined it to lack. When you say, I am unlucky, you have united God with limitation. When you say, I am tired of struggling, you have bound divine power to struggle. And the law, being perfectly impartial, does not stop you. It says, so be it, and reflects it back into your life. This is not punishment, it is faithfulness. Life is faithful to your declarations. I once said to a dear student who came to me in tears, do not speak against yourself again. He looked at me in shock and said, but I'm only telling the truth. I replied, you are telling the truth of the old state, and by speaking it, you are keeping it alive. Truth is not what appears. Truth is what is assumed. You must understand this deeply. Your subconscious does not know facts. It knows identity. And identity is always formed by what you say after I am. That is why idle words are never idle. Every casual self-description is a prophecy. Every complaint is a blueprint. Every habitual phrase is a seed planted in the womb of creation. Now listen closely. This is where freedom begins. The moment you become aware of this law, you are no longer a victim of old habits. You become a conscious chooser. You may stop mid-sentence and redirect yourself. You may say, I am blessed, even if circumstances argue. You may say, I am divinely supplied, even if the bank balance disagrees. And when you do this consistently, something remarkable happens. Life begins to reorganize around your new assumption, not because you forced it, but because you stopped contradicting it. So tonight, we are not merely learning words. We are reclaiming the name. We are using I am, as it was always meant to be used, not casually, not fearfully, but creatively. But here is the next thing you must understand, something that separates empty affirmations from living truth. Words alone are not enough. For a word without feeling is like a seed cast upon stone, and it cannot bring forth life. That is what we must uncover next. For feeling is the power that gives the word its flesh. My dear, this is where many sincere people fail without ever knowing why. They speak the right words, yet nothing changes. They repeat affirmations faithfully, yet their world remains the same. And then they conclude, "It doesn't work for me." But the law has not failed them. They have misunderstood it. Words by themselves are only symbols. They are the shell. Feeling is the life within the shell. A word spoken without feeling is like a letter never mailed. It contains a message, yes, but it never reaches its destination. Scripture says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Notice it does not say, "As a man speaketh with his lips." The heart, in spiritual language, is the subconscious mind, the womb of creation. You may say, "I am wealthy," 1,000 times a day, but if in your heart you feel anxious, pressed, or afraid, the subconscious hears only the feeling and replies, "Very well," and it reproduces anxiety, pressure, and fear. This is why prayer becomes powerless when it is strained. This is why affirmations become hollow when they feel like pretending. Vain repetition is not repeating words often. Vain repetition is repeating words without belief, without emotion, without acceptance. Let me make this very clear and very gentle. You are not meant to force yourself into feeling something you do not believe. You are meant to enter the feeling naturally by imagining the end. Feeling does not mean excitement. Feeling does not mean emotional drama. Feeling means acceptance. It is the quiet inner knowing that says, "This is true." I once advised a woman who said to me, "Florence, affirmations make me feel dishonest." And I told her, "Then stop forcing the words. Let the feeling lead." I said, "Close your eyes and imagine paying your bills with ease. Feel the relief, feel the calm, feel the freedom. Then let the words rise from that feeling." And when she did this, when she stopped reciting and began accepting, her atmosphere changed. Money began to come in unexpected ways. Opportunities appeared where none had existed. Why? Because the word finally found good soil. You see, the subconscious does not respond to effort. It responds to impression. A word spoken with feeling makes an impression. A word spoken without feeling slides off like water on stone. Think of the farmer. He does not shout at the seed. He places it gently into the soil. He does not panic if it does not sprout overnight. He trusts the law. So must you. When you speak, "I am divinely supplied," do not shout it at life. Accept it. Let the relief of that truth soften your body. Let the peace of it settle your nerves. That feeling calm, assured, settled is the moment of conception. And once conception has taken place, the work is finished in the unseen. Now you begin to see why words spoken at night are so powerful. Why repetition at the border of sleep is sacred. Why 7 words, spoken with feeling, can change an entire destiny. Because the subconscious is most receptive when the mind grows quiet. And that is where we go next. And this brings us gently, naturally, to the law that makes all of this inevitable, the law of assumption. My dear, you are not trying to make something happen. You are not struggling to force life into obedience. You are simply assuming a state, and life being obedient to law must follow. This is where people misunderstand creation. They believe they must create something new, as though wealth, health, love, or freedom did not already exist. But creation is finished. Every state already is. You are not creating the thing, you are selecting the state. Think of life as a great wardrobe. Every garment already hangs there. Poverty and plenty, illness and health, struggle and ease. And you step into a new experience not by effort, but by putting on a new garment in consciousness. To live in the end means this. You do not think of the desire, you think from the fulfillment. You do not say, "One day I will be free." You say inwardly, calmly, "I am free now." Because the subconscious knows only the present tense. It does not hear will be. It hears only I am. If you say, "I hope," the subconscious hears lack. If you say, "I want," it hears absence. But when you say, I am, and feel it to be true, it accepts the state as fact and sets everything in motion to express it. This is why wishing fails and assumption succeeds. Wishing keeps the desire at a distance. Assumption brings it home. I once desired something that outwardly seemed impossible, and had I said, perhaps someday, I would have remained forever outside the door. Instead, I entered the state in imagination and lived there inwardly until it felt natural, and when it felt natural, life had no choice but to rearrange itself. This is the great secret. Naturalness is the sign of acceptance. You do not strain to feel wealthy. You do not dramatize abundance. You simply rest in it. At first, the new assumption may feel unfamiliar, like a new pair of shoes. But you do not reject the shoes because they are new. You wear them, and soon they mold themselves to you. So it is with your new state. You wear it inwardly. You sleep in it. You return to it gently, night after night. And then one day, without fireworks, without struggle, you realize, this feels normal. And when it feels normal, it is done. Now, do not be disturbed if the outer world argues with you at first. That is only yesterday speaking. The 3D world is always late. It is showing you the echo of past assumptions. Do not fight it. Do not explain yourself to it. Do not seek reassurance from it. Simply remain faithful to the end you have assumed. For life must, and I say must, conform to the state you occupy in consciousness. And once you understand this, once you truly grasp that assumption is law, you are ready to see why night and the quiet moment before sleep is the most powerful hour of all. And now we come to the moment that decides whether this law remains theory or becomes living fact in your life. My dear, the most powerful hour of creation is not noon, when the mind is busy and the senses are loud. It is night, that sacred interval, when the world grows quiet and the conscious mind loosens its grip. Just before sleep, you enter what the mystics have always called the holy threshold. The body relaxes, the will softens, the critical mind steps aside. And in that gentle stillness, the subconscious stands open, undefended, receptive, obedient. This is why Scripture says, when deep sleep falleth upon men, then he openeth their ears and sealeth their instruction. The sealing happens at night. What you feel as you fall asleep is not a passing thought. It is an instruction given to the womb of creation. If you fall asleep rehearsing worry, you are planting worry. If you fall asleep reliving lack, you are sealing lack. But if you fall asleep assuming the end, you are sowing a harvest that must come forth. This is why I speak of a nightly formula, not long prayers, not endless affirmations, but a short, complete decree repeated softly until it sinks beneath thought and becomes feeling. 7 words are enough. Why 7? Because 7 is the number of completion. The 7th day is the day of rest. The work is finished. Nothing more needs to be added. When you speak your 7 words at night, you are declaring, the work is done. And here is the beauty of it: you do not have to struggle to believe. You only have to allow yourself to drift into the mood those words imply. Lie down. Let the body be still. Let the breath grow slow. Whisper your phrase not aloud, but inwardly. Not as someone hoping, but as someone remembering. If your words are, "Thank you, Father, it is already done," then feel gratitude. If your words are, "I am divinely supplied," then feel relief. If your words are, "I already have all I need," then feel peace. Do not force emotion. Do not chase excitement. Let the quiet knowing come. And when it comes, even faintly, stop speaking and rest in the feeling. That feeling is the prayer. That feeling is the seed. That feeling is the command accepted. Do not change your words every night. Do not scatter your seed. Choose your phrase and return to it faithfully, as a mother returns to the cradle. Each night, the impression deepens. Each night, resistance weakens. Each night, the state becomes more natural. And one night, perhaps sooner than you think, you will drift into sleep, not as someone imagining wealth, but as someone being it. And when you wake, the world will already be moving to meet you. For night is not rest alone. Night is creation. And once you understand this, you are ready to learn the most important lesson of all: how to remain faithful when appearances contradict what you have assumed. And here is where many turn back, not because the law failed, but because they mistook the test for defeat. My dear, the moment you assume a new state, the outer world often rises to contradict it. Bills may appear larger, delays may show themselves, voices inside and out may whisper, "See, nothing has changed." Do not be disturbed by this. This is not failure, this is evidence. The outer world is only the echo of yesterday's assumptions. It cannot show you what is being conceived within you now. So when appearances argue, they are not telling you the future, they are repeating the past. Scripture calls this walking by faith and not by sight. Faith is not blind optimism. Faith is loyalty to the unseen reality you have already accepted as true. Think of the seed buried in the earth. For days it shows no sign of life. The soil looks unchanged. But beneath the surface, something is stirring. If the farmer were to dig it up daily to check, he would destroy the very thing he planted. So it is with your assumption. When you rush to check, worry, measure, or complain, you are digging up the seed. When you remain calm and inwardly faithful, you allow it to grow. I once told a student, "When the outer world gets worse, rejoice quietly." He looked at me in disbelief. I said, "The old state is making its last demand for attention. Let it pass." And pass it did. You must understand this clearly. The 3D world has no creative power. It is not a cause, it is an effect. It only reflects what you have believed to be true. Change the belief and the reflection must change. So when lack presents itself, do not bow to it. Do not argue with it. Do not give it emotional life. Instead, return gently to your inner state. Feel again the end you have assumed. Say inwardly, "This is temporary, my assumption stands." This quiet loyalty is far more powerful than frantic effort. And something marvelous happens when you do this. Life begins to rearrange itself. Not in one dramatic moment, but through a series of natural, almost unnoticeable events, meetings, ideas, conversations, opportunities that carry you from where you are to where you assumed yourself to be. I call this the bridge of incidents. You are not meant to design the bridge. You are not meant to see the whole path. You are only meant to walk in faith when the step appears. What looks like a delay may be a doorway. What looks like a loss may be a release. What looks like an ending may be the very thing that frees you. So do not judge the road while you are on it. Remain faithful to your assumption. Sleep in it. Return to it. Live from it. And I promise you, because this is law, not hope, the world will yield. For life cannot deny the consciousness that remains loyal to itself. And now we arrive at one of the most liberating truths you will ever learn. The truth that nothing is fixed, not even the past. My dear, people suffer not only from what is happening now, but from what they keep remembering. They carry old conversations, old humiliations, old failures like heavy luggage, and then wonder why the journey feels so hard. But hear this clearly. Memory is imagination. And what imagination once created, imagination can recreate. The past is not a solid thing. It is not carved in stone. It is only a story you continue to tell yourself, and every time you tell it with feeling, you keep it alive. This is why Scripture promises, "I will restore to you the years the locust hath eaten." How could lost years be restored unless the past itself were flexible? This is where the great law of revision enters. Revision is not denial. Revision is redemption. It is the art of going back in imagination and changing the meaning of what occurred so that the subconscious no longer carries the old wound as truth. If you were rejected, revise it. If you were spoken to harshly, revise it. If money failed you, revise it. Tonight, or any night, you may return to a scene that still pains you and replay it as it ought to have been. Hear the kinder words, see the door opening, feel the relief instead of the hurt. Do not analyze it. Do not argue with it. Simply replace the old picture with the new until the new one feels natural. And here is the miracle. When the subconscious accepts the revision, the outer world must rearrange to agree with it. I have seen relationships heal, opportunities reopen, money flow where it once stopped, all because someone stopped rehearsing the wound and started remembering differently. You see, life is not punishing you. It is reflecting you. And when you change the reflection inside, the mirror must respond. So do not say, "But it already happened." Say instead, "It is happening now, and I choose it differently." This is not fantasy. This is spiritual law applied with love. And once you begin to revise your past, something extraordinary occurs. You stop dragging yesterday into tomorrow. You become free to assume a new identity without contradiction. And with that freedom, you are now ready to understand the deepest truth of all, the role of the subconscious itself, the womb where every decree is conceived and brought forth. That is where we go next. And now, my dear, let us go to the very heart of creation itself, the place where every word, every feeling, every assumption is received and made flesh. The subconscious mind is the womb of life. The conscious mind chooses the idea, but the subconscious conceives it, nurtures it, and brings it forth as experience. This is why nothing in your world appears by accident. The subconscious does not reason. It does not compare. It does not judge whether a thing is sensible, moral, likely, or deserved. It simply accepts whatever is impressed upon it with feeling and says, "So be it." This is why careless moods are so dangerous. Not because they are sinful, but because they are creative. A mood of fear impresses fear. A mood of lack impresses lack. A mood of abundance impresses abundance. You may never speak a word aloud, and yet your feeling speaks continuously. That tightness in your body is a statement. That quiet resignation is a decree. That calm confidence is a command. And once the subconscious accepts the impression, it goes to work tirelessly. It touches the minds of others, it rearranges circumstances, it brings opportunities together like threads woven by unseen hands. You do not have to supervise it. You do not have to remind it. You do not have to struggle. Once conception has taken place, the work is finished in the unseen. Think of a woman with child. She does not wake each morning and command the baby to grow. She rests, she trusts, and growth happens in silence. So it is with your assumption. When you feel the wish fulfilled, truly feel it, the subconscious is impregnated. From that moment on, anxiety is unnecessary, effort is misplaced, doubt is interference. This is why I say to you, guard your inner atmosphere more carefully than your outer actions. You can correct an action later, but an impression once accepted must express itself. So tonight, when you speak your 7 words, do not speak them lightly. Let them be felt. Let them be received. When the feeling settles in, when peace replaces strain, stop. That is the sign the subconscious has accepted the seed. From that point on, your only task is rest. For rest is not laziness. Rest is faith. And when you understand this, prayer itself changes forever, because prayer is no longer asking, it becomes acceptance. And that, my dear, is the next unveiling. And now, my dear, we must speak of prayer, because this is where misunderstanding has kept so many sincere souls waiting year after year. Most people have been taught that prayer is begging, pleading with a distant God, repeating requests in hope that one day He might answer. And so they pray from fear, from urgency, from the feeling of not having, and then they wonder why nothing changes. But true prayer is not asking. True prayer is acceptance. Prayer is not words sent outward. Prayer is a feeling assumed inward. When you say, God, give me, you are declaring lack. When you say, God, help me, you are confessing helplessness. And the subconscious faithful, obedient, accepts the confession and reproduces it. But when you say inwardly, thank you, Father, you have assumed fulfillment. Gratitude is the seal of faith. Scripture says, when you pray, believe that you have received, and you shall have. Not will receive, have received. That feeling of already having is the prayer answered. So when you pray for wealth, do not picture yourself asking. Picture yourself relieved, calm, secure, free. When you pray for healing, do not dwell on the condition. Feel the ease, the strength, the naturalness of well-being. For prayer is the art of entering a state and remaining there until it feels real. One moment of true acceptance outweighs hours of strained repetition. One imaginal act, felt as true, outweighs 1,000 spoken pleas. I once said to a man who prayed faithfully, yet saw no change, "You are praying against yourself." He was startled. I explained, "You pray with your lips for abundance, but your heart is agreeing with lack. Change the agreement." That night, instead of asking, he felt himself already successful. He imagined the handshake, heard the congratulations, felt the satisfaction. And when the feeling came, he rested. Within a short time, the outer world responded. Nothing magical happened, nothing forced, only law fulfilled. So tonight, when you pray, do not kneel in fear. Lie down in trust. Do not repeat your desire. Assume its fulfillment. Do not watch the clock. Do not ask when. Do not demand signs. Feel, accept, rest. And when you learn to pray this way, you will discover something astonishing. You will no longer pray desperately, because you will know the answer is already within you. And once you know that, you are ready to test the law for yourself, not in theory, but in experience, with something small, simple, and undeniable. And now, my dear, I will ask you to prove this law to yourself, because truth that is not tested remains only belief. I do not want you to take my word for any of this. Faith that rests on another's testimony will waver, but faith that rests on experience becomes unshakable. So, I give you a simple experiment, one so small that the reasoning mind cannot argue with it, yet so definite that when it happens, you will know it was no accident. It is called the ladder experiment. Tonight, as you lie down to sleep, close your eyes and imagine yourself climbing a ladder. Do not merely see it, feel it. Feel your hands grasp the rungs. Feel your feet lift your body upward. Feel the solidity of the ladder beneath you. Do this gently, without effort. Repeat the imaginal act until it feels real, until for a moment you forget that you are lying in bed and feel that you are actually climbing. Do this for 3 nights. Now, during the day, if the thought comes to you, say casually to yourself, "I will not climb a ladder." You may even write it down. This is not to confuse the mind, but to show you something very important. For you see, the subconscious does not hear the word not. It hears only the feeling of the act. And what happens? Without fail, people find themselves climbing ladders in the most ordinary, unexpected ways. At work, at a friend's house, in a shop. Not because they planned it, but because the subconscious, once impressed, must express. I have seen skeptics laugh at this experiment and then return astonished. They say, "I don't know why, but I had to climb a ladder." And that is exactly the point. The law does not care whether the act is small or great. To imagination, there is no difference between climbing a ladder and receiving a fortune. The principle is the same. Once you prove this to yourself, even once, you will never again say, maybe. You will say, I know. And from that moment on, your confidence grows. If imagination can bring a ladder, why not opportunity? If it can bring a handshake, why not a check? If it can bring a small thing, why not a great one? This experiment is the doorway. It shifts you from hoping to knowing. And once you know, truly know that imagination creates reality, you are ready to apply the law boldly, not just to trifles, but to wealth itself. For the same law that brings the ladder is the law that brings the millions. And that, my dear, is where we go next. And now, my dear, we lift our eyes from the small proof to the greater vision. For the same law that brought the ladder brings abundance without measure. People stumble here because they believe money has power of its own. They look at figures, accounts, institutions, and conditions, and they feel small before them. But money is not power. Money is a shadow. The power is the state of consciousness that casts the shadow. The subconscious does not count dollars. It does not understand numbers. It understands feeling. To it, there is no difference between 10 and 100 million. There is only the mood you live in, the feeling you accept as natural. So if you chase money while feeling anxious, you chase a shadow that runs from you. But if you assume the feeling of wealth, the shadow must follow. What is the feeling of wealth? It is not excitement. It is not greed. It is not constant thinking about money. The feeling of wealth is ease. It is calm confidence. It is the quiet knowing that you are provided for. When you feel wealthy, you move differently. You speak differently. You decide differently. And the world answers differently. I once said to a student who wanted riches, stop thinking about money and start thinking like someone who has it. He was puzzled. I explained, a wealthy consciousness is not noisy, it is settled. So each night, instead of imagining numbers, imagine relief. Imagine paying with ease. Imagine generosity without fear. Imagine freedom from calculation. Let that mood become familiar. When the feeling of abundance becomes natural, the channels appear naturally. Opportunities arise without strain. People are moved to help you without knowing why. Circumstances align as though by chance, but it is not chance. It is law. Scripture says, faith is the substance of things hoped for. Faith is not belief in something future. Faith is the feeling of fulfillment now. When you feel wealthy, that feeling is substance. When you feel secure, that feeling is evidence. And the outer world, being only a mirror, must reflect it. So do not strain to imagine millions. Do not argue with reason. Simply enter the state where abundance feels normal to you. Rest there. Sleep there. Return there. And when it becomes your natural mood, money will come quietly, lawfully, inevitably. Now you see why the night is sacred, why the feeling is the key, why the words must be few and complete. And having understood this, you are ready to perform the final, most important act of all, the act that seals the work forever, resting in the end. And now, my dear, we come to the final truth, the seal upon all that has been spoken. After the word is spoken, after the feeling is accepted, after the assumption is made, you must rest. This rest is not passivity. It is not indifference. It is faith completed. Scripture tells us that on the seventh day, God rested, not because he was tired, but because the work was finished. And when you rest in the end, you are declaring the same thing. It is done. The moment you stop watching, checking, measuring, and worrying, you have entered the Sabbath of creation. So many people undo their prayers by anxiety. They plant the seed at night, and in the morning they dig it up with fear. They ask, when will it happen? Why hasn't it shown yet? What if it doesn't work? My dear, those questions are not innocent. they are declarations of doubt. When you rest, you trust the law. When you rest, you allow the subconscious to work undisturbed. When you rest, the bridge of incidents forms quietly beneath your feet. You do not need to manage the process. You do not need to control the outcome. You do not need to explain yourself to anyone. Your only task is to remain faithful to the state you have assumed and to live from it naturally. Sleep as the one who already has. Move through the day with quiet assurance. Respond to life without fear. And here is the greatest revelation of all. The true treasure was never the money. Money is only the shadow. The treasure is the awakening to God within you, your own wonderful imagination. When you discover that imagination creates reality, you are rich beyond all counting. For you no longer depend on conditions. You no longer fear loss. You know the source, and the source is infinite. This is what Christ in you means. This is the pearl of great price. This is the freedom that no circumstance can touch. So use the law. Prove it. Let abundance come. But let every demonstration remind you of who you are. You are not a beggar hoping to be chosen. You are a creator awakening to your power. Tonight, speak your 7 words. Feel them real. Rest in the end. And then live freely, joyfully, confidently knowing that what you have assumed must come to pass. For the word does not return void, and you, my dear, are the one who speaks it.
Are you ready to end the struggle with money? Not next month, not next year, but now. Then you must know this. Money is not your master, and struggle is not your teacher. You have been told that effort is the answer, that discipline will deliver you, that lack is something to climb out of with strategy and grind. But I tell you today, none of those things hold the key. Your word does. Yes, your mouth has more to do with your money than your resume ever will. Because money is not governed by toil, it is governed by law, and divine law does not respond to hustle. It responds to utterance. It moves on rhythm, not reason, on alignment, not anxiety. You are not broke because of your circumstances. You are broke because of your declarations. You say what you see instead of speaking what you desire. You describe the mountain instead of casting it into the sea. But you were never called to report appearances. You were called to command outcomes. So I speak to you now, spirit to spirit, and I say, there is no power in money. The power is in your word about money. If you speak from fear, money flees. If you speak from truth, money flows. It is not emotion that shifts your life. It is uttered alignment. This is the sentence that changes everything. And no, it is not a magic trick or poetic comfort. It is spiritual architecture, a formula that ends the inner war with supply and places you in divine agreement. Do you want to know the one sentence that ends struggle with money forever? Then prepare your spirit, because I am not here to motivate you. I am not here to comfort your ego. I am here to speak law to your lack, to show you that money has no mind of its own. It obeys the voice of faith. You don't chase money, you call it. You don't beg for supply, you expect it. You don't earn rest, you inherit it. So cast off the old lie, that lack is holy, that struggle is required, that money is suspicious. These are shadows cast by those who forgot the Son of Truth. Your breakthrough does not begin when your paycheck arrives. Your breakthrough begins the moment you say, I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply. That sentence will be the dividing line between the old you and the new law, between anxiety and abundance, between effort and expression. Are you ready to understand why that one line can dissolve a lifetime of financial fear? Then come closer. Let us move into the second part, spiritual law explained, the law of substitution. You cannot hold fear and truth in the same mind. One must be substituted for the other. That is the working of the law of substitution. And until you master this law, your relationship with money will remain divided, unstable, confused. The world has trained you to speak what you fear. I don't know how I'll make it. Money's tight. There's never enough. These are not casual remarks. These are decrees. These are financial contracts made in the courtroom of spirit. And what you decree, you experience. What you expect, you embody. But the law of substitution says, where fear once lived, truth may now stand. When you speak the sentence, I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply. You are not saying pretty words. You are performing divine surgery. You are lifting the energy of fear off your shoulders and placing it on the altar of divine intelligence. You are saying, I will not carry what I was never designed to bear. It is the Christ within, the God consciousness, the indwelling presence that does the work. You do not need to know where the money will come from. That is not your department. Your role is to refuse to carry the burden and instead to claim the blessing. Let us examine the law through Scripture. Cast your burden upon the Lord, and He shall sustain you. Psalm 55:22. My God shall supply all your needs according to His riches in glory by Christ Jesus. Philippians 4:19. These are not metaphors. These are metaphysical guarantees. But they require substitution. You cannot receive supply while gripping the burden of lack. You cannot open your hands to provision while clenching your fists in panic. Every time you speak the sentence, you are making an exchange. Fear is replaced by faith. Burden is replaced by blessing. Limitation is replaced by law. Imagine your mind as a sacred garden. Fear is a weed. Truth is a seed. The sentence is the shovel that uproots the weed and makes space for the seed. But you must speak it daily. You must till the ground of your consciousness until the new growth becomes unshakable. There are no exceptions to this law. If you speak it with faith, it will work. If you speak it with repetition, it will grow. If you speak it in the face of doubt, it will dominate. You are not being punished by money. You are being invited into mental dominion. And the invitation sounds like this. I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply. Say it now, speak it aloud, and feel the shift, not in your bank account, but in your vibration. That is where all money begins. Now, let us step deeper into the practice and move into part 3, Instruction in Truth, introducing the one sentence. Now, I give it to you plainly. The one sentence that ends your struggle with money is not hidden. It is not complicated. It is not reserved for the spiritually elite. It is law, and it is simple. Say it now with me. I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply. This is no poetic suggestion. This is divine legislation. Let me break it down for your spirit, line by line. I cast this burden of lack. You are naming the weight. You are refusing to carry what was never yours. Lack is not your identity. Struggle is not your inheritance. When you say this, you stop entertaining the fear, and you begin excommunicating it. On the Christ within. This is your source, your inner divine mind. The Christ within is not a figure of history. It is the law of God encoded in your very being. When you cast your burden here, you are giving it to the only power that can actually dissolve it. And I go free. This is the release, the transaction. You don't just drop fear, you walk into freedom. Freedom to receive, to relax, to rejoice. This is not passive language. This is the language of spiritual authority. To receive unlimited supply. And here lies the blessing. Not partial, not probable, unlimited. You're not asking, you're not hoping, you're receiving. Because once the burden is gone, the blessing flows like water into the open channel. This one sentence is not for emergencies, it is for daily dominion. Speak it in the morning before your feet hit the floor. Speak it when anxiety rises as you check your bank account. Speak it before you pay a bill. Speak it when doubt whispers. You do not say it once and forget it. You say it until your nervous system aligns. You say it until your energy reflects it. You say it until you are no longer begging money to come. You are commanding it to report. Let this become your sacred rhythm. I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply. Say it calmly. Say it rhythmically. Say it until even your fears bow to the sound. This is the new ritual. And as you say it, don't wait for the outer to change. Let the inner shift first. Because the world doesn't supply your good. God within does. And the money you seek is already waiting for the version of you who speaks this as law, not as wish. Now that you have received the sentence, let us move to part 4, spoken word versus silent belief. Because until your mouth agrees with your spirit, your world cannot change. Certainly, let us now speak to the root of creation itself, the word. You may believe in abundance, you may meditate on wealth, you may journal dreams of prosperity, but if your mouth is silent, your results will remain locked in the realm of potential. Silent belief does not move mountains. Spoken word does. The truth is this: nothing is made manifest until it is spoken. The universe is not responding to your hope. It is responding to your decree. You may feel abundant inside, but if your lips repeat phrases of lack, fear, and hesitation, your world will mirror your words, not your hidden faith. Scripture affirms this clearly. Thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. Job 22:28. Not think a thing, not believe quietly. Decree, speak, proclaim. Your word is your wand, not your thoughts, not your feelings. When God created the world, He did not meditate it into existence. He did not visualize the oceans or imagine the mountains. He said, "Let there be light." And there was light. This is the blueprint. To think is to conceive. To believe is to receive. But to speak is to create. Let me show you the trap that binds most seekers. They carry a deep inner belief that God will provide, but they undo it with their speech. They say things like, "I can't afford that. Money never lasts. I always get hit with unexpected bills." These are not harmless phrases. They are financial prophecies. Every word is a seed, and the soil is your subconscious mind. The moment you say it, the universe begins organizing itself to prove you right. And if your tongue is trained by fear, it will always testify against you, even when your spirit longs for more. So what must you do? You must put your spoken word above your emotions. You must declare truth in the face of appearances. You must let the word be louder than your bank balance, your job title, your financial history. Here is your new commandment. I will not let my mouth betray my faith. Because when your belief is silent, it is still in the womb. But when it is spoken, it is birthed into form. Let me make it plain. Silent belief is a vision. Spoken word is a verdict. One can be doubted, the other must be obeyed. So ask yourself, what do you say about your money? What do you speak when the bill arrives? What do you utter when supply feels delayed? Because your world is not responding to your good intentions. It is responding to your uttered truth. Speak lack, and lack lingers. Speak supply, and supply answers. The universe is not ignoring you. It's just waiting for you to speak with authority. So now, with new awareness, let us witness the principle in action. In Part 5, Case Study, The Woman Who Spoke Her Way to Rent, I will show you exactly what happens when belief becomes declaration, and heaven rushes to respond. Certainly. Let us move into living testimony, the law proven in real time. She was days away from eviction, a single mother, a teacher by trade, no child support coming in, no family to rely on, and no paycheck due in time to meet the rent. Fear sat on her chest like a stone. She had done everything the world told her to do, budgeted, asked for help, prayed in silence. But her eyes still fell on the same numbers, the same insufficiency, the same dread every time she opened her banking app. Then, one night, while flipping through a worn copy of The Game of Life and How to Play It, her eyes landed on the sentence, I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply. She did not feel powerful, she did not feel spiritual, but something within her stirred, a small, defiant spark. So she stood up in her living room, tears still fresh on her cheeks, and spoke the sentence out loud. Not once, but 7 times. Slowly at first, then stronger, then again the next morning. Then in the car before work, then again at night while brushing her teeth, again while looking at the past due notice taped to her door, and again every time fear began to whisper, "It won't be enough." She stopped rehearsing the fear and started declaring the law. She no longer said, "I don't know what I'll do." She replaced that sentence, cast it down, and chose the new one. I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply. On the 5th day, her phone rang. A former client from years ago had randomly found an old email from her. They had just received a grant for a school program and needed a speaker for a 2-week workshop. Could she start immediately? And yes, the deposit would be paid up front. Today. It wasn't a miracle. It was metaphysical law. You see, her good was always trying to reach her, but fear had been blocking the gates. The moment she spoke in alignment, she dissolved the dam. She cast the burden and made room for the blessing. This is not unusual. It is not exceptional. It is divine pattern. Let me ask you, what if she had waited for proof before she spoke? What if she had treated the sentence like a suggestion instead of a command? What if she had whispered her fears instead of declaring her faith? She would have remained stuck, not because God was unwilling, but because her word remained unspoken. The supply was there, the client was there, the payment was ready. It was her sentence that made the connection. Now hear me. This is not a story about luck. This is a demonstration of law. The same law that governs you now. The same sentence that can unlock your next provision. Will you wait for the fear to subside before you speak? Or will you declare the truth as she did and watch the law fulfill its promise? Let us now move into part 6, mental reprogramming. Replace financial fear with law, where you will learn to speak your way out of subconscious fear and into divine freedom. Certainly. Let us now rewire the inner blueprint with the only material that holds, truth. Financial fear is not circumstantial. It is programmed. It lives in the folds of your mind like an unchallenged tenant, whispering lies that feel like logic. I never have enough. I always fall behind. Money disappears faster than it comes. These are not just thoughts. They are mental spells. And every time you repeat them, you reinforce them. But what is built in thought can be torn down in word. You do not fight financial fear by budgeting harder or working longer. You dismantle it by declaring truth louder than the lie. And you must do it with rhythm, with fire, with holy stubbornness. This is not positive thinking. This is mental reprogramming. Let me make this clear. Your subconscious does not respond to silence. It responds to sound, repetition, and authority. Every time you speak truth aloud, you cut a new groove in the mind. Every declaration is a new neural decree. And the most potent weapon in this reprogramming is your own voice, aligned with divine law. Let's reprogram right now. When the old thought rises, "I don't know how I'll pay for this," you interrupt it with, "I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply." When the fear says, "What if I lose everything?" you answer with, "There is no loss in divine mind. What is mine by divine right can never be withheld." When shame creeps in, "I should have more by now," you stand tall and say, "My supply comes from God, not from man. I am divinely compensated in all I do." You see, fear does not vanish by avoidance. It bows by replacement. You cannot think your way out of lack. You must speak your way out. This is the discipline. Every time the old programming plays, you overdub it with truth. You become the narrator of your new financial story, not the victim of your old emotional soundtrack. And repetition is not just helpful, it is sacred. Your cells respond to spoken vibration. Your emotions shift with rhythm. That is why David sang psalms, why prophets declared visions aloud, why Jesus rebuked the storm with a spoken word. So I charge you now, make your declarations daily. Make them rhythmic, make them law. Stand in front of your mirror. Face the doubt, face the fear, and speak over it until it breaks. Your subconscious will resist at first. It may mock you, but keep speaking, because eventually the mind will bend. Eventually the fear will crack. Eventually the program will reset. And when it does, you will walk through the same world, but lack will no longer be your lens. You will see differently, expect differently, receive differently, because you will have become someone new, a soul aligned with truth, a mind reprogrammed by spirit, a mouth that no longer makes room for fear. Let us now go deeper into dominion with part 7, command and challenge. Speak your supply. Out loud. This is where we stop rehearsing and begin ruling. Certainly. Let us now separate the illusion from the demonstration. Spoken wealth versus visualized wealth. Many have been taught to visualize wealth, to picture checks arriving, to imagine the dream home, the luxury car, the flowing account. And while imagination is divine faculty, vital, creative, powerful, it is not enough. Visualization is blueprint, but it is the word that lays brick. You may close your eyes and see millions, yet still speak thousands into dust. You may dream of freedom and yet say aloud, I can't afford that. And in that moment, the dream collapses beneath the decree. You see, visualization moves the subconscious, but declaration commands it. Visualization is rehearsal, but the spoken word is release. The spoken word sends your inner faith into the field of matter and says, now perform. I have seen countless souls say, but I've been meditating on abundance. Yet when I ask what they've been saying aloud, they go silent. And that silence explains the delay. The law is clear. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. Psalm 107:2. Not think so, not imagine so, say so. In the metaphysical realm, your voice is the key that unlocks unseen storehouses. Spirit waits not on fantasy, but on utterance. God created with words, not with daydreams, and you are made in the same image. Do not confuse feeling rich with sounding rich. The former may bring momentary comfort, but the latter, the spoken word, brings demonstration. This is why your affirmations must be voiced, not whispered, not internalized, but spoken into the atmosphere, because when you speak, you align sound, breath, body, and spirit. You become a channel, not just a container. And let me be clear, visualization must serve the spoken word, not replace it. See what you desire, but then declare it as law. Do not stop at the image. Walk through the mirror with your voice. You are not here to be a dreamer. You are here to be a declarer, a demonstrator, a distributor of divine supply. So if you have been visualizing without results, the missing link is your voice. Say it out loud. Wealth is not a fantasy. It is my spoken form. Let this be your shift, from passive to active, from dreaming to declaring, from hope to harvest, and the harvest always begins with sound. You have spoken the sentence, you have felt its power, but to live in it, to embody it, is to make it a spiritual habit, a daily act of metaphysical mastery. You do not say it once and wait. You say it until the cells of your body obey. You say it until the mind falls into step. You say it until your supply becomes as natural as your breath. This is the 7-day sentence practice, a covenant between your soul and your source. For 7 days, speak this one sentence out loud, with rhythm, with clarity, with divine precision. I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply. Each day builds a layer. Each day removes residue. Each day becomes a rung on the ladder from fear to dominion. Here is your 7-fold rhythm. Day 1, initiation. Speak it slowly. Let the words ring like sacred bells in your body. Begin to feel the shift from fear to faith. Say it morning, noon, and night, especially when fear whispers. Day 2, resistance. On this day, the ego will protest. You'll hear, "This isn't working," or "You're just saying words." This is the death rattle of lack. Keep speaking. You are not trying to feel something, you are building something. Day 3, cracking the shell. Now the outer begins to reflect subtle shifts, a gift, a call, an insight. Don't doubt it, it is evidence. Keep the sentence close to your lips like a sword unsheathed. Day 4, anchoring. You are no longer repeating it, you are living it. You find it rising on your tongue before you even think. You catch yourself saying it without trying. This is identity hardening into form. Day 5, acceleration. Now your energy moves faster. You begin to feel boldness. Financial shame begins to fall off like old scales. The sentence is no longer hope. It is truth in motion. Day 6, overflow. Provision appears where delay once lived. You begin to receive, not just ideas or nudges, but substance, supply, confirmation, divine compensation, and it's only day 6. Day 7, completion. On this day, you speak the sentence not as a practice, but as identity. You have cast the burden so many times it no longer knows where to return. You are light. You are free. You are walking in the law. This is not ritual. This is spiritual training. It is how you rewire the entire system of struggle. Do not say the sentence for the money. Say it to break the illusion. Say it to return to law. Say it until you don't remember life without it. Your word is not waiting for emotion. It is waiting for consistency. And the 7-day sentence practice is how you become unshakable in the spirit of supply. You cannot wait for the fear to leave before you open your mouth. You cannot wait for the anxiety to settle, the facts to improve, or the evidence to shift. If you do, you are not walking by faith. You are bowing to appearances. And appearances are the oldest liars in creation. You must learn to speak when your throat is dry, when your knees are trembling, when your bank account hisses lies, and your mind repeats old scripts. This is the battlefield of spiritual dominion. Here is the command. Do not be silent in the storm. Speak in the presence of fear. Your word is not for the calm, your word is the calmer. When Jesus stood in the boat and the waves were raging, he did not meditate. He did not visualize calm. He spoke, "Peace, be still." And the sea obeyed. Why? Because divine law does not wait for emotions to stabilize. It acts from authority. And you, child of spirit, have that same authority. But it only flows when you dare to declare while the appearance threatens. The fear you feel is not a warning. It is an invitation, an announcement that a lie is present, asking you to believe it. Instead, you must declare, "I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply." Even if your voice shakes, even if your heart pounds, even if you feel like a fraud, speak it anyway. Because every time you speak truth in the presence of fear, you teach your soul to trust law over logic. And let me give you the challenge. For the next 7 days, whenever fear rises, about money, about bills, about your future, you must speak this sentence out loud within 10 seconds. Not in your head, not in a whisper, out loud. Say, "I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply." Say it when the doubt comes. Say it when you feel unworthy. Say it when fear calls your name and tries to shame you into silence. Because that's where your authority is tested, not in safety, but in fire. If you can speak in the presence of fear, fear will begin to flee your presence. It will learn your voice and tremble. It will know, this one cannot be ruled. This is the law of spiritual self-government. Speak in the face of fear, and you will soon walk where fear cannot follow. Now that your spirit is alert, your mind realigned, and your fear exposed, let us wield the sword of the word. These declarations are not nice phrases. They are metaphysical commands. Each one is a spiritual hammer, breaking old patterns. Each one is encoded with divine law. Say them aloud. Let them echo in your room, in your car, in your temple body. Let every cell hear. Let every fear break. Let every lack dissolve. 1. I do not chase money, I command it by law. You are not a beggar in the marketplace. You are a creator in the image of God. Money is not your master, it is your servant, and servants answer to voice. 2. I speak from the place of already having. Not from absence, not from need, but from completion. Your word does not seek permission, it issues verdict. 3. I cast every burden of fear onto the Christ within and walk free in provision. You do not carry the weight of uncertainty. The Christ mind within you handles the logistics. Your role is spiritual command. Let the inner do the heavy lifting. 4. My voice multiplies what I touch. Every bill you bless, every transaction you speak over, expands, because the energy of your word rewrites the field around it. 5. God's wealth is circulating in my life with ease, rhythm, and joy. Not with toil, not with panic, not with tight fists, but with rhythm, with joy, with song. Let this be your circulation scripture. 6. I do not wait for evidence. I speak the evidence into being. You are not a thermometer reacting to appearances. You are a thermostat setting the temperature of your world. Speak now, see later. 7. My spoken word is the wealth. My visible money is the echo. Let this end the illusion. The word is the seed. The harvest is guaranteed. Don't confuse the fruit with the root. Keep speaking. Now pause. Breathe. Feel what just shifted. These 7 sentences are not just affirmations. They are spiritual software. Every time you repeat them, you rewrite the code of lack. You interrupt generations of silence. You awaken ancient dominion within your own tongue. Do not whisper these. Roar them. Because the universe does not obey hesitation. It obeys conviction. And now you carry the sound of supply in your mouth. She had lived under the shadow of just enough for decades. A faithful woman, spiritual by all outward appearances, generous to others, yet silently tormented by fear every time her rent was due or the grocery bill grew longer than expected. She tithed, she volunteered, she prayed. But her life was a constant negotiation with insufficiency. She had grown used to saying things like, "I'll make it work. God will come through somehow. Money doesn't grow on trees." These were the unconscious sentences that shaped her atmosphere. She didn't realize it, but she was upholding the struggle with her own mouth. She was a believer in spirit, but also a believer in shortage. Then she heard one line from me. I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply. At first, she wept, not from joy, but from conviction. She realized she had never cast the burden. She had carried it like a badge of spiritual survival. So she made a vow. For 14 days, she would speak that one sentence every morning before her feet hit the floor. She would say it while cooking, while driving, while folding clothes. Not once in panic, but as a law, as a command, as the new foundation of her world. At first, nothing happened. No big check in the mail, no anonymous donor, no sudden miracle, but she felt something shift in the air. Her chest relaxed, her breath deepened. She stopped checking her account 10 times a day. The spiritual anxiety lifted, and that was no small miracle. It was the beginning of demonstration. On day 6, a co-worker she barely spoke to approached her and said, "I don't know why I feel led to do this, but I've been assigned a side contract and I need someone I trust to handle overflow. It's paid weekly. Interested?" She said yes. 2 days later, the organization called her directly. They not only hired her, they offered her a long-term retainer at triple her previous rate. And the kicker? The contract had been signed the day before she started speaking the sentence. The provision had already existed, but she had to remove the fog of fear and align her vibration through declaration to walk into it. She didn't chase the blessing. She didn't beg for it. She spoke into the clearing, and it appeared. Now her phrase lives on her mirror, on her journal, on her lips. I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply. Her surplus is not luck. It is law. And the law is no respecter of persons, but it is a strict respecter of the spoken word. So I ask you, will you speak your way out of survival? Will you command your way out of compromise? Because if you do, you will find, as she did, that the sentence doesn't just end struggle. It rewrites the story. If you search the Gospels, you will not find Jesus begging, bargaining, or hesitating. You will not find him visualizing loaves into baskets or meditating lepers into wholeness. You will find him speaking, declaring, commanding. The method of the Master was always spoken word. To the sea, he said, "Peace, be still." Not, "Please calm down." Be still. It was command, not comfort. To the dead, he said, "Lazarus, come forth." He did not cry at the tomb and hope. He called. And what was bound had no choice but to obey. To the man at the pool of Bethesda, lying in decades of infirmity, Jesus didn't sit beside him and empathize. He declared, "Rise, take up thy bed, and walk." This was not cruelty, it was clarity. Jesus knew spiritual law. He knew the power of the creative decree. He said in John 14:10, "The words that I speak unto you, I speak not of myself, but the Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works." Meaning, the power flows through spoken alignment. When he fed the 5,000, what did he do? He took the loaves, blessed them aloud, and gave thanks for multiplication before it occurred. He spoke supply into form. He didn't wait for enough, he declared enough. And he said something else, something many ignore. "Greater works than these shall ye do." He did not say observe, he said do. You were never meant to be a spectator of miracles. You were meant to be a speaker of miracles. The sentence that ends money struggle forever is not magic. It is ministry. It is a reflection of the same law that governed Jesus' every move. The Father within doeth the work, but the Son must speak the word. When you say, "I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply," you are not hoping. You are doing what Jesus did. You are stepping into the theology of divine command. You are not begging for heaven to move. You are aligning with heaven already moving. You are not waiting for favor. You are activating law. This is what separates the metaphysical student from the religious wanderer. One believes God is waiting. The other knows God moves the moment truth is spoken. So speak as Jesus spoke. Command as Jesus commanded. Walk as Jesus walked, in the rhythm of creative word and immediate demonstration. There will be days when the sentence feels dry, when your voice feels powerless, when the words feel foolish, mechanical, even absurd. The mind will scream, "It's not working." The bank balance won't shift. The appearance will tighten, and the fear will attempt a final strike. This is the moment where most fall silent. But you must speak louder. The resistance is not proof that it isn't working. The resistance is proof that the old pattern is dying. And like all things that die, it resists the grave. You must speak the sentence like a hammer, again and again and again, until the shell of fear cracks open and your spirit walks free. I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply. This is not repetition for repetition's sake. This is spiritual leverage. Every time you say it, you etch a new groove into your subconscious. Every time you say it, you unhook your soul from ancestral lack. Every time you say it, the inner mechanism of divine compensation moves closer to form. You say it until fear gets bored. You say it until doubt loses its echo. You say it until your atmosphere aligns with your authority. Some burdens don't fall off at once. Some illusions must be spoken through layer by layer. Don't fear the repetition. Fear the silence. Because silence is where the old story survives. But the spoken word is where resurrection begins. You must become a scribe of power, speaking the same law until the stone rolls away. It is not how you feel that determines the result. It is how faithfully you speak. Declare, I will say it until I believe it. I will say it until I see it. I will say it until the door opens and lack is a name I no longer answer to. This is how you take dominion over resistance, not by willpower, not by effort, but by lawful repetition of truth. Stand up if you can. Sit up straight if you must. But wherever you are, come into alignment. Your spine is your staff. Your breath is your offering. Your word is your weapon. We are about to release the sentence that ends struggle with money forever, not because it's magical, but because it is metaphysical law spoken through authority. Say this out loud with me now. I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply. Again, with full clarity. I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply. One more time, now as law. I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply. Let it settle in your body. Let it vibrate in your bones. Let it cut through every ancestral contract, every mental illusion, every emotional residue of poverty and panic. Now declare this after me. My word is the end of struggle. My voice is the doorway to divine supply. I am not waiting on money. Money is waiting on me. God is not delaying. I was delaying, but I delay no more. Now breathe. That was not a sentence. That was a spiritual decree. You didn't just say it. You stamped it in the invisible. Heaven has heard. Earth is aligning. You may not see it instantly, but the moment you spoke, the law was triggered. The moment you spoke, the atmosphere took shape. The moment you spoke, delay lost its hold. Never again say, I'm trying. Never again say, I hope so. Never again say, I don't know how. Because now, you do. You know that the word is the how. Say it again tomorrow. Say it when you get paid. Say it when the bill arrives. Say it before the phone call. Say it when you feel rich, and especially when you don't. You're not repeating out of desperation. You're repeating out of dominion. You are a divine commander now, and this sentence is your spiritual sword. Say it, mean it, live it, and now watch money obey the rhythm of your mouth. Let this be the turning point. Let this be the final moment you ever confuse lack with truth. The struggle is not real, but the word is, and now you've spoken it. If this word has stirred something in you, don't leave silently. Speak again. Comment below with the decree. I cast the burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply. Write it once and let heaven echo it back. Let your voice be seen. Let your word become visible. This is not just about engagement, it's about activation, a public act of private dominion. And if you've felt the shift, I invite you to subscribe, not to a channel, but to a practice, a rhythm, a return, a remembrance of your divine authority. Come back daily, not for more content, but for more alignment. Speak with me again. Decree again, command again, because your life will not change by watching, it will change by speaking. And this channel will be here to remind you, not of your lack, but of your law. So now, say it one more time with me. I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to receive unlimited supply. Your next financial chapter does not begin with effort. It begins with your next sentence. Return tomorrow. Your voice is waiting. There is a divine law, a silent yet unfailing power, moving through every moment of your life. It is unseen but not unfelt, invisible yet undeniable, always seeking expression through faith, expectation, and unwavering belief. When you expect something with a heart free of fear, you make a clear pathway for it to rush toward you. Money, like every form of supply, is simply a current, a river that flows not to the anxious, but to the one who stands calm and expectant. To expect money in 33 minutes is not to beg or to doubt. It is to claim what is already yours in the invisible realm. The universe is abundant, overflowing with wealth, opportunities, and blessings waiting for a mind bold enough to expect them. The moment expectation is born, a seed is planted, and like a seed, it does not question whether it will grow. It knows the sun will rise, the soil will nourish, and the roots will reach what they need. So too must your faith take root in expectation. The number 33 is not a barrier of time, but a vessel. When you set the clock, you give your faith direction. You say to the universe, I believe now. And in that belief, the law goes forth, arranging, aligning, preparing. There is nothing hurried in divine law. It is precise, perfect, and immediate. You do not chase money. You do not plead for it. You stand still, and the supply finds you. Your words, your thoughts, your emotions, they are magnets. If they are tangled in fear, they repel. If they are anchored in certainty, they attract. Speak within yourself. I now expect the perfect flow of money. I see it, I feel it, I welcome it. Do not concern yourself with the how or who. That is not your work. Your work is expectation. In these 33 minutes, every doubt must fall silent. You must refuse the voice that says, it's impossible, for that is the voice of illusion. The truth whispers softly, it is already done. When your mind aligns with that truth, miracles unfold not as exceptions but as the natural order. The unseen hand moves swiftly when you release resistance. What you expect with a calm heart you draw near. As a magnet draws metal, your unwavering expectation draws money, opportunities, and prosperity. The moment you say, I expect, the law answers, it is given. This is not fantasy. This is spiritual mathematics. Plant your expectation firmly, and the universe will obey. For the law is not swayed by doubt or delay, it is swayed only by belief. Pure, uncluttered, radiant belief. Your supply is closer than breath, nearer than thought. It waits not for time, but for your command. And when your expectation becomes clear, the river of money flows freely, effortlessly, and precisely on time. Visualization activates unseen supply, for there is a hidden current that moves before the eye can see it, before the ear can hear it, before the hand can touch it. It is the silent architect of circumstances, shaping and forming experiences in response to the quiet power of belief. When you expect something with conviction, not half-hearted hope, not fragile wishing, but deep, unshakable expectation, you open an invisible gate that allows the supply to flow toward you. This supply does not sleep, nor does it delay without reason. It is precise, unwavering, and responsive to the vibration of your consciousness. Money, opportunities, ideas, and assistance are all currents of this greater supply, waiting to be directed through the channel of expectation. Expectation is not mere optimism. Optimism may hope that something might happen. Expectation knows it is already on its way. It is not idle dreaming but an active force that speaks to the universe with authority. When the mind expects, the universe aligns, because expectation is an order, not a plea. It is the difference between a door left ajar and a door thrown wide open. Where expectation stands, resistance fades, and the path is cleared for what is already yours in the unseen realm to take form in the seen. Many live their lives speaking words of desire but holding thoughts of lack. They say they want abundance, but their expectation is tangled with fear, doubt, and contradiction. The universe does not answer words alone, it answers the vibration beneath them. When expectation is pure and unwavering, it becomes a magnet of irresistible strength. Supply is drawn not because it needs to be chased, but because expectation calls it by name. It recognizes the one who is ready to receive, and it rushes to meet that readiness like water seeks the lowest point. In the invisible realm, everything you desire already exists. Supply is not created at the moment you ask, It is revealed at the moment you expect. Expectation acts like a key, unlocking the door to that invisible storehouse. If you stand outside the door, hoping it might open, it remains closed. But if you stand with the certainty of one who knows their rightful place, the door swings wide without effort. This is why those who walk with quiet confidence often seem to receive with ease, because they expect, not beg. They know, not guess. Every expectation carries a signal, and the universe reads signals with exact precision. Expect scarcity, and scarcity comes. Expect delay, and delay answers. Expect wealth, opportunities, and ease, and the invisible forces begin to rearrange circumstances to make it so. Expectation does not need to see the evidence to believe. It believes, and then evidence appears. This is why the unseen supply is so powerful. It is not bound by appearances. Appearances may speak of lack, but expectation speaks of abundance, and the unseen listens to the louder voice. To activate unseen supply through expectation, the mind must be disciplined. It must be cleansed of the habitual thoughts of worry, of wondering how things will happen, of counting obstacles instead of certainties. Expectation is clear, steady, and unwavering. It does not pace back and forth in doubt. It sits in stillness, knowing the law is already in motion. Just as a farmer does not dig up the seed every hour to check if it is growing, one who expects does not question the process once the order is given. The farmer knows the soil works in silence. So does the universe. Unseen supply is like an ocean waiting for a channel. Expectation is the channel. The wider and clearer it is, the more easily the supply flows. Fear, doubt, and impatience act as blockages. They narrow the stream and slow the current. But when expectation stands pure and unclouded, supply flows naturally because it recognizes a place prepared to receive it. This is why expectation must not be weak or fleeting. It must be rooted like a tree, with deep roots that cannot be shaken by the winds of circumstance. When one expects with calm assurance, they no longer try to force or grasp. They do not measure their faith against the ticking of the clock. They do not chase, they align. They do not plead, they command through quiet certainty. This expectation is not loud, it does not need to shout. It speaks softly but with the weight of unmovable truth. The unseen supply responds not to noise, but to clarity. Expectation also reshapes the inner world. It transforms doubt into certainty, fear into assurance, and confusion into direction. When the mind expects abundance, it begins to see opportunities where it once saw walls. It recognizes paths where none seemed to exist. It becomes a receiver of divine signals, subtle nudges, and perfectly timed encounters. These are not coincidences, they are responses to expectation. The invisible is always listening. It is sensitive to the slightest shift in your belief. When you doubt, the current pauses, waiting. When you expect, the current moves again. It is not punishing or rewarding, it simply obeys. It is a perfect mirror, reflecting the image held in the mind. If the image is one of abundance, ease, and wealth, the reflection becomes that. If the image is one of struggle, delay, and doubt, the reflection mirrors that too. This is why expectation must be guarded like a sacred flame, kept steady and bright no matter the winds that blow. Those who expect supply do not need to strain to make it happen. Their work is inner, not outer. The outer rearranges itself once the inner is set. This is why two people can walk through the same circumstances and see entirely different outcomes. One expects nothing and receives nothing. The other expects abundance and sees doors open without knocking. The difference is not in the world, but in the lens through which they perceive it. Expectation is that lens, and it colors everything it touches. Expectation also commands timing without demanding it. It does not say, "I hope someday." It says, "It is on its way now." This now is not frantic or impatient. It is certain. It does not need to push, because it knows the supply was already set in motion the moment the expectation was formed. It is like a ship already launched. The waves may shift, but the course is set. The unseen supply, once activated by expectation, begins to move through channels you may not foresee. It may use people, circumstances, opportunities, sudden insights, or quiet alignments. It may appear as a gentle unfolding or as a swift, unexpected shift. But however it comes because the expectation made space for it. There is no limit to its expression, because the supply itself is infinite. The only limit is the size of the expectation. A small expectation opens a small channel. A vast expectation opens a wide one. Expectation is the language the unseen understands best. Words may fail, actions may falter, but pure expectation speaks clearly. It says, "I am ready," and the universe replies in kind. It is not about striving, pleading, or worrying, but about standing still in certainty. Where expectation stands, the unseen supply cannot help but respond. Time is a vessel, not a barrier, for what flows through it is shaped by the consciousness that directs it. Time itself holds no power to delay or deny what is already yours in the invisible realm. It is neutral, silent, obedient to the force of expectation and belief. When people view time as a wall, they create separation between themselves and the supply they seek. But when they understand time as a vessel, they realize it is simply the passage through which their manifestation travels. The supply does not struggle through time, it rides upon it effortlessly, awaiting the moment when belief and readiness meet. There is a vast difference between waiting in uncertainty and allowing time to deliver with certainty. When one says, "It will come someday," they push their desire into a fog of distance. But when one says, "It is already set in motion," they turn time from an obstacle into a servant. Time bends to the clarity of thought. It does not withhold, it carries. If you expect something to happen in 33 minutes, you do not force the minutes to hurry. You simply align with the truth that time is already carrying your supply toward you, like a river carrying a boat. Time has no resistance of its own. It mirrors the resistance in the mind of the one using it. Those who fear delay see delay everywhere. Those who expect speed experience swift alignments. It is not the clock that decides the outcome, but the consciousness behind the clock. The clock is a symbol, a simple tool to measure experience, not to define it. When you set an intention for a specific time, you are not binding the universe. You are giving it a vessel through which to move, a moment to arrive, a space to manifest. When the mind stops treating time as an enemy, all pressure falls away. Pressure arises from the belief that time can stand in the way. But time is not a gatekeeper. It is an open road. Your expectation determines the speed, your belief sets the direction, and your readiness determines how smoothly the journey unfolds. Those who master the art of expectation understand that time works with them, never against them. Time also teaches alignment. When you align your inner state with the certainty of the outcome, the minutes that pass do not feel heavy, they do not drag, nor do they threaten. They simply serve. Every tick of the clock becomes a carrier of the unseen. When you sit in expectation, you are not waiting. You are allowing. You are not counting seconds with impatience. You are watching a vessel approach the shore that was already set on course. Many tie their desires to a timeline filled with doubt, whispering to themselves that time may be too short or too long, that what they seek may not fit within it. But time does not decide what is too short or too long. It only obeys the strength of conviction. If you decide that your supply can arrive in 33 minutes, time will not argue with you. It will simply carry out the command written in the language of expectation. This is why when faith is firm, time seems to bend. People speak of miracles that happen suddenly, unexpectedly, but it is not time that changed. It is belief that cleared the way for the supply to arrive without hindrance. Time is not slow when faith is swift. It is not delayed when expectation stands unwavering. It moves at the speed of certainty. If you trust the process, every moment between now and the arrival becomes an ally, not a foe. To see time as a vessel is to remove all fear of waiting. Waiting, in its fearful form, is filled with doubt, but allowing is filled with quiet strength. The one who allows does not tap their fingers or question the minutes. They understand that just as a ship does not appear the instant it is spotted on the horizon, neither does supply manifest before the vessel of time carries it to the appointed moment. The ship was already on its way, it simply needed to arrive. When expectation is set, time begins to work invisibly. It gathers, arranges, moves people and circumstances like a silent conductor. What seems like stillness to the untrained eye is in truth a delicate choreography unfolding behind the scenes. When your belief is calm, you no longer demand proof in every second. You trust that time is doing its work, that the invisible is weaving the visible. The vessel is already moving. Time also gives space for your consciousness to prepare. Sometimes the supply is ready, but the receiver is not yet in the state to hold it. Time in such moments is not delay but grace. It is the stretch that allows your vibration to align, your mind to accept, your hands to be open. Without this vessel, the arrival might go unnoticed or unclaimed. When you trust time, you no longer wrestle with impatience. You understand it as part of the law. Every second carries possibility, but it is your belief that shapes what that possibility becomes. If you see the 33 minutes as a wall to overcome, your energy tenses, your expectation weakens, and your command fades. But if you see it as a golden vessel carrying your abundance, the very air shifts. Each minute feels alive, filled with quiet assurance. You no longer wonder if it will happen. You know it is already happening beneath the surface. To trust time is to trust the unseen. It is to accept that the universe works in ways not visible to the eye. The caterpillar cannot see the butterfly it will become, yet time is the vessel through which the transformation happens. So too with money, opportunity, or blessing. They exist in form unseen, and time is the bridge that carries them to the shore of visibility. When you hold unwavering expectation, the bridge holds firm. Those who fear time give power to the clock. Those who trust time hold the power within themselves. When you command time with certainty, it bends not as a servant in chains, but as a willing ally. It arranges without struggle. It delivers without delay. It is not about controlling time, but about aligning with its flow. The river does not resist the current, nor does the vessel struggle against the water when it is guided by clear direction. Time becomes gentle when you trust it. The minutes no longer feel like chains, but like steps on a sure path. Each step brings the unseen closer. Each moment opens the door a little wider. Expectation rides upon time like a bird upon the wind, not needing to flap against it, but carried by its steady movement. This is why when a person declares their intention and couples it with unwavering belief, time ceases to intimidate. The 33 minutes become a sacred vessel, holding within them the unseen flow that is already on its way. There is no rush, no panic, no pleading. There is only a calm knowing that what has been claimed will arrive at the appointed moment, carried perfectly, effortlessly by the vessel of time. Faith draws. Faith repels, for faith is the great magnet of the unseen, and fear is the hand that pushes away what is already reaching toward you. The law does not respond to need. It responds to the vibration you hold. Faith whispers, "Come," and all things unseen begin to move closer, aligning themselves with the certainty in your heart. Fear whispers, "Stay away." And the same things hesitate at the edge of manifestation, unable to pass through the wall you have built with doubt. Faith is not loud, but it is powerful. It does not have to shout, because its language is recognized immediately by the unseen forces. It speaks in calm, steady tones that cannot be misunderstood. When you hold faith, your very energy changes. It becomes expansive, receptive, magnetic. It creates a vacuum that supply rushes to fill. Faith does not beg for proof because faith is proof in itself. It claims the result before the result is visible, and because it claims it, the universe must respond in kind. Fear, on the other hand, contracts. It closes doors that were already open. It clouds the vision and clutches tightly, believing that by holding on it can control the outcome, yet in truth, it is pushing the outcome further away. Fear does not speak the language of abundance. It speaks the language of lack. Where faith says I have, fear says I might lose. Where faith says it is done, fear says, what if it never happens? The unseen listens, and it answers whichever voice is stronger. Faith is the state of mind that draws supply effortlessly. It requires no force, no tension. It stands calm like a beacon, and the unseen is drawn to it like iron filings to a magnet. It does not chase what it desires, it attracts it. This is why those who live in faith often receive with ease. It is not because they are lucky, but because they are open channels through which the supply can flow without resistance. Fear is a dam that blocks the river of abundance. No matter how great the current, it cannot flow through a wall of doubt. You can ask, hope, and plead, but if fear remains, the flow remains stalled. Fear feeds on uncertainty and grows stronger with every thought of lack. It thrives on impatience, on the restless scanning of the horizon for signs, on the inner voice that questions every quiet moment. The universe does not punish fear, but it cannot move through it. The law is precise and exact. It responds not to wishes, but to states of being. Faith draws because it aligns with truth. The truth is that abundance already exists in the unseen realm, waiting for a clear path to manifest. Faith provides that path. It does not need to see the outcome because it already feels its reality. It walks forward with certainty, even when nothing seems to move, knowing that the movement is happening beneath the surface. Like a magnet drawing metal it cannot see, faith pulls the unseen toward the visible. Fear repels because it creates dissonance. It sends out a signal of uncertainty that disrupts the natural flow of supply. It says, I want this, but I don't believe it can happen. The unseen, hearing that mixed message, hesitates. It waits for clarity. It cannot flow toward a heart that pushes and pulls at the same time. That is why faith must be singular. It must hold the vision without allowing fear to speak over it. When faith is pure, it changes how time feels, how silence feels, how waiting feels. Silence no longer feels like emptiness, it feels like the air before the dawn. Time no longer feels like distance, it feels like a vessel carrying what is yours. Waiting no longer feels heavy, it feels sacred. Faith is the anchor that holds everything steady. Fear is the storm that shakes the anchor loose. Faith does not demand signs, it becomes the sign. It carries within it the quiet knowing that what is expected must arrive. This is why faith is magnetic. It does not wait to feel worthy. It declares worthiness now. It does not wait for everything to make sense. It knows the law works whether or not the mind can trace every step. Faith steps forward as if the bridge is already beneath its feet, and the bridge appears. Fear waits for proof before it believes, but proof does not come to the fearful. Proof comes to the faithful, because their belief opens the channel through which proof can arrive. When fear stands at the doorway, the supply remains on the other side, not because it is unwilling, but because the door is closed from within. Only faith can open that door. Faith is the stillness in the midst of noise. It is the unshaken core when appearances say otherwise. Appearances have no power against faith, because faith does not look at appearances for truth. It looks within and says, "It is already mine." That declaration draws unseen forces into action. They respond swiftly, not because they are commanded with force, but because they recognize their rightful place. Fear weakens the signal, it scatters energy. One moment it asks, the next it doubts, the next it pleads. This inconsistency is like a magnet that keeps changing its poles. Nothing can be drawn to it steadily. Faith is unwavering. It sends one clear, bright signal, "Come," and the unseen moves without hesitation. Faith also shapes your behavior without effort. When you believe deeply, your actions align naturally. You walk differently, you speak differently, you no longer speak the language of lack. You do not say, "I hope," you say, "I know." And because you know every small action is filled with quiet power, fear, by contrast, scatters your actions. It makes you act from desperation, from mistrust, from the need to control every step, which only builds stronger walls between you and the supply. Faith draws people, opportunities, ideas, and resources to you, often in ways the rational mind cannot predict. It creates openings where none seem to exist. It makes the unseen visible at the exact moment it is needed. Fear, however, blinds you to those same openings. It makes opportunities appear invisible, even when they are standing before you. Faith sharpens vision. Fear blurs it. Faith is calm and deliberate. It does not chase the clock or fear the silence. It understands that the moment the expectation was born, the law began to move. Fear does not trust that movement, so it interferes, questions, and interrupts. The supply waits for a clear signal, and when faith finally stills the noise, the flow begins again. Faith is not built on appearances but on inner knowing. It is an inner light that shines even when everything outside looks dark. It does not flicker when the wind blows. It does not disappear when the clock ticks. It stands, steady and magnetic, pulling what is unseen into the light. Fear is a fog that hides what is already on its way. It whispers that the blessing may not come, that the time is too short, that the way is too hard. And when one listens to that whisper, they unknowingly push away what was already approaching. The unseen responds to the vibration, not the plea. When faith holds steady, even a short span of time can carry great abundance. When fear rules, even endless time cannot bring fulfillment. The magnet does not need eternity to draw metal to itself. It needs only clarity. Faith is that clarity. It says yes and means it. Fear says yes and no in the same breath, and the supply waits for a single answer. Faith is a light in the unseen, a beacon calling abundance home. Fear is a shadow that says, stay away. The law obeys both equally, without judgment, for it does not choose sides. It simply mirrors the signal it receives. If faith stands unwavering, the mirror reflects abundance. If fear stands louder, the mirror reflects emptiness. Faith draws, fear repels. One opens the door wide, the other shuts it tight. The unseen does not resist, it simply waits for the door to be opened by the steady hand of faith. Speak wealth into form, for the spoken word carries a power that reaches far beyond the limits of the tongue. Words are not just sounds, they are creative commands, vibrations sent into the unseen, shaping the currents of reality before the eye can perceive them. Every word you speak sets something in motion, either drawing abundance closer or pushing it away. When you speak wealth not as a wish but as a declaration, the unseen listens and responds with precision. Words are seeds planted in the soil of the invisible, and the harvest they produce is determined by the strength and clarity of the intention behind them. To speak wealth into form is to acknowledge that the law of creation is not distant or delayed. It is immediate, responsive, exact. When you say, I am abundant, you are not pretending or performing. You are aligning yourself with the truth that already exists. You are opening the channel through which abundance flows. Words give shape to expectation. They give form to faith. They declare to the universe, this is the reality I choose to stand in. And the universe, obedient to the spoken word, backed by unwavering belief, begins to mold itself around that declaration. There is a vast difference between speaking in hope and speaking in power. Hope whispers from a place of uncertainty. Power speaks from the certainty that the invisible already holds the supply. Words spoken in hope ask for permission. Words spoken in power give direction. Hope waits for signs. Power creates them. When your words carry the tone of authority, they act like keys unlocking the doors of supply. The unseen does not question. It moves according to the vibration carried in your voice. Wealth is not created in the material world first. It is spoken into existence. The spoken word carves pathways through which the invisible flows into form. When you declare abundance with clarity, you clear away the fog of doubt. Every word becomes a stepping stone on which the unseen can walk into visibility. When your language is firm and consistent, the path remains open. But when your language wavers, the path cracks and the flow stumbles. That is why speaking wealth into form requires discipline, not empty repetition. It is not the number of times the words are spoken that holds power, but the belief beneath them. Words are vessels of energy. They carry the weight of your consciousness. If you speak of lack, even as a casual remark, you are giving shape to lack. If you speak of wealth, you are giving shape to wealth. The law does not distinguish between what you mean lightly and what you mean seriously. It responds to the vibration behind the words. A single word spoken with unwavering certainty can carry more power than 1,000 spoken in doubt. This is why you must guard your language carefully. What you speak today becomes the structure you live in tomorrow. When you speak wealth, you do not speak as one begging to receive. You speak as one who already possesses. I am prosperous. Money flows to me with ease. My supply is unlimited. These are not idle affirmations when they are spoken with conviction. They are creative commands. They shape unseen currents. They shift the atmosphere around you. They instruct your mind to align with abundance and instruct the universe to deliver accordingly. Every declaration of wealth becomes a bridge connecting the invisible to the visible. The spoken word also transforms the speaker. When you speak wealth with certainty, your mind begins to reshape itself around those words. Fear softens, doubt loosens its grip, and the vision of abundance becomes more real. Your inner world rearranges to match your language. You begin to act in alignment with what you declare. The opportunities that once passed unnoticed now catch your eye. The resources that seemed scarce reveal themselves. The power of your words reaches both inward and outward, changing what you see and what sees you. Speaking wealth into form requires clarity. Vague words create vague outcomes. Clear words create clear results. When you speak, you must know what you are commanding. Not as a demand made in desperation, but as a decree made in quiet authority. Just as a king does not beg his servants to obey, but simply speaks the order, knowing it will be carried out, so too must you speak your words of wealth with the assurance that they will be fulfilled. The universe responds not to panic, but to authority. Words spoken with fear carry no magnetism. They echo into the unseen without pulling anything back. But words spoken with faith are like a bell that cannot go unheard. They resonate, they vibrate, they summon. That is why it is not enough to merely say the words. They must be charged with belief. You can repeat "I am abundant" 1,000 times and still live in lack, if the belief beneath the words is weak. But speak it once with the full weight of conviction, and the law begins to move immediately. Speaking wealth also means silencing the language of lack. Every complaint, every fearful whisper, every careless statement of limitation builds walls between you and the flow of abundance. When you say "I can't," the universe obeys. When you say "I have," the universe obeys just the same. Your words are orders, and the unseen carries them out with perfect accuracy. This is why many unknowingly speak against their own blessings, not realizing that every word carries weight. Your language must become a reflection of what you desire, not of what you fear. To speak wealth into form is to live in the vibration of wealth, even before it manifests. It is to walk as if abundance already surrounds you, to speak as if every channel is open. The unseen responds to this certainty without hesitation. It does not ask whether you are worthy or whether the time is right. It moves according to the voice of command. Speaking wealth also aligns your actions without effort. When your language declares abundance, your behavior naturally follows. You begin to move like someone who expects good things. You make decisions from power, not fear. You stop shrinking back and start expanding forward. The words you speak shape your state of being, and your state of being shapes everything around you. The spoken word is a creative force because it bypasses hesitation when spoken with authority. It creates momentum where there was stagnation. It turns ideas into opportunities, opportunities into form. It carries an energy that the unseen cannot ignore. When you speak wealth, the very air around you begins to shift. responding to the frequency of your command. Every great flow of abundance begins with a word, not a hesitant murmur, but a clear, deliberate declaration. Words create the structure upon which the invisible builds. They are the foundation upon which the house of wealth stands. Without spoken intention, abundance remains a shadow. With spoken intention, it steps into the light. When you speak, you are not merely expressing thoughts, you are shaping reality. Words reach into the unseen and draw substance into form. They do not need permission to work. They do not depend on outer evidence to be true. They simply carry the vibration of the speaker, and the law answers that vibration exactly. Speaking wealth into form means understanding that the world listens to your words. Every sentence is a command. Every declaration is a blueprint. The abundance you seek is already waiting, listening, responding to the voice that calls it forth. The clearer and more certain your voice, the swifter the response. Your words are the bridge, the invitation, and the door through which wealth enters your experience. The law obeys clear belief, for belief is the command that the unseen cannot ignore. It is not the loudness of the voice that moves the invisible currents, but the clarity and certainty of the inner conviction. When belief is clouded, the response is uncertain, delayed, or scattered. When belief is clear, the law moves like a swift and obedient current, aligning events, people, and opportunities with exact precision. The law does not question, it mirrors. It does not debate, it reflects. It answers the tone of your belief the way a perfect echo answers the original sound. Clear belief is not the same as wishful thinking. Wishing hopes for something to happen, but belief knows it already has. Wishing looks to the future, belief stands in the present. Wishing wavers when appearances contradict it. Belief remains still. The law does not respond to the shifting waves of emotion, but to the steady light of unwavering conviction. If the belief is fragmented, the result is fragmented. If the belief is whole, the result arrives whole. Many speak words of desire but hold beliefs filled with cracks. They say they want abundance, but deep within they doubt its possibility. They say they expect prosperity, but secretly they prepare for disappointment. The law hears the belief beneath the words, not the surface performance. It listens to the strongest signal. If doubt and belief wrestle within, the law receives a mixed command, and the outcome reflects that confusion. That is why clarity of belief is the foundation upon which every manifestation stands. Belief is like a key that fits a precise lock. If the key is crooked, the door does not open. If the belief is clear, the door swings wide without resistance. The unseen does not make exceptions or choose favorites. It simply responds with mathematical accuracy to the belief held with the most intensity. This is why some receive swiftly, while others wait in frustration. The difference is not in worthiness, but in clarity. When belief is clear, the mind no longer negotiates with doubt. It no longer looks for reassurance in appearances. It rests in certainty. This rest is not laziness, but power. It is the calm center from which everything moves. The law rushes to fill a clear command, because there is no contradiction to delay it. Just as water naturally flows through an open channel, supply naturally flows toward a clear belief. A clear belief speaks one language, not two. It does not say, "I have" in the morning and "I fear" at night. It does not declare abundance in one breath and question it in the next. It is single, unwavering, rooted. When such belief stands, the universe organizes itself around it without struggle. The law does not take time to decide whether to respond. The response is immediate because the command is unmistakable. Doubt is not punished by the law. It simply weakens the signal. A weak signal receives a weak response. A strong signal receives a strong response. This is not judgment. It is precision. When your belief is firm and clear, there is no hesitation in the response. It is like a perfectly tuned instrument. The sound resonates clearly, and everything that matches that note begins to move toward you. Clear belief does not require evidence because it creates the evidence. It does not ask for signs before committing. It commits and allows the signs to follow. This is why those who believe deeply often see the world rearrange itself in their favor. They are not waiting for proof, their belief is the proof. The law follows their certainty, like a shadow follows light. Belief is a frequency, it sends out a call into the unseen, and only what matches that frequency can respond. A clear belief sends out a steady, unwavering signal. A confused belief sends out static. The unseen does not push against static, it waits for clarity. That is why moments of stillness and inner alignment carry such power. One clear moment of belief can accomplish more than years of uncertain hoping. When the belief is clear, time ceases to intimidate. It no longer matters whether the result arrives in 33 minutes or 33 days. The belief does not shift with the ticking of the clock. It stands as if the outcome is already in hand. And in truth, it is. The law is already at work the moment the belief solidifies. It is not delayed, it is in motion, arranging the unseen in perfect sequence. Clear belief is quiet but unshakable. It does not need to announce itself loudly, because its strength is not in noise, but in depth. It is the deep root of a tree that holds firm through every storm. Appearances may shake the branches, but the root does not move. Because it does not move, the law does not hesitate. It flows steadily, matching the unwavering tone of the belief it serves. When belief is unclear, the energy behind it scatters. One part of the mind reaches forward while another part pulls back. One hand opens to receive while the other closes in fear. The law receives both commands and cannot act with precision. It mirrors the inner conflict. This is why clarity must come first. The moment you choose a belief and refuse to let it waver, the invisible begins to align around that choice. Belief is a silent language understood perfectly by the universe. You do not have to shout it, you do not have to convince the world. You simply hold it, steady and sure. That holding is itself a command. The law responds, not to desperation, not to uncertainty, but to the unwavering flame of conviction. Clear belief has no need to explain itself. It does not question whether it is worthy of receiving. It does not seek permission from circumstance. It stands as a fact. It says, "This is mine," and the unseen moves to make it visible. It does not beg the law to obey. It knows the law already does. The power of belief is not in how loudly you declare it, but in how completely you stand in it. The one who believes without wavering has already claimed what they seek, even before it arrives. The one who wavers stands in a house with shifting walls. The law reflects both states without judgment, simply and perfectly. Clear belief is not rigid. It is steady. It does not resist, it allows. It does not force, it commands through stillness. It is the certainty that opens doors without knocking. It is the unspoken assurance that draws what is unseen into the light. It is the anchor beneath the waves, holding everything in place, no matter how the surface shifts. When belief is clear, words align naturally, expectation flows easily, time becomes a vessel, and faith becomes magnetic. Everything falls into place without strain, because the command is unmistakable. The unseen does not need to decipher mixed messages. It receives one pure signal and responds with speed and precision. Those who master the art of clear belief do not chase what they desire. They allow it to come because they know it already belongs to them. They walk with quiet confidence, not because they have seen the result, but because their belief is already the result. The law obeys not because it chooses to, but because it must. It mirrors, reflects, and delivers with unerring exactness the belief that stands without shadow. This is why clarity is power. A single clear belief can move mountains that countless efforts could not. A single unwavering thought can open doors that force could not budge. The unseen does not resist the command of clear belief. It recognizes it, aligns with it, and answers it in kind. There is a currency you are spending every single moment of every single day. And it has nothing to do with the numbers in your bank account. It is the currency of your attention, of your belief, of your spoken and unspoken word. And where you spend this currency, where you invest this deep internal capital, determines everything about the money that flows to you or from you. It dictates whether your life feels like a riverbed, cracked and dry, or an ocean, vast and endlessly supplied. We have been taught to see money as a thing, as paper, as metal, as digits on a screen. We have been taught to see it as a master to be served, a beast to be tamed, a prize to be won through struggle and sacrifice. We chase it. We fear it. We hoard it. We resent it. We worship it. We build our lives around its perceived presence or its perceived absence. But this is a profound misunderstanding of its nature, a misunderstanding that keeps you running on a wheel of your own making. The great spiritual teacher Florence Scovel Shinn spoke a truth that cuts through all of this confusion. She said, "God is the source of your supply. His supply is limitless and immediate, and it is your divine right to have all you need." Let this land in you, not as a pretty sentiment, but as a fundamental law of the universe. Like gravity, money is not the source. Your job is not the source. The economy is not the source. The source is the infinite, intelligent, loving energy of life itself, the creative spirit that breathes the stars into being and animates your very cells. That is the source, and it is limitless. Money is simply a symbol. It is an effect. It is a current of energy that has been made visible. It is a servant, designed to respond to your command. It is divine substance, responding to the shape of your consciousness. Think of it like water. The universe is an infinite ocean of supply. It never runs out. Your consciousness, your core beliefs about yourself, about life, about what you deserve, is the vessel you bring to this ocean. You can bring a thimble, you can bring a cup, you can bring a bucket, or you can stand at the shore and realize you are not separate from the ocean at all. You are made of the same water, and you can command the tides. The ocean does not judge the size of your vessel. It simply fills what you bring. The universe does not withhold. It simply reflects. So, the great question of your financial life is not, how do I get more money? The true question is, what vessel am I bringing to the ocean? What is the shape of my consciousness? Let's be honest with ourselves in this quiet, sacred space. Let's look at the beliefs we have carried, often unconsciously, that have shaped the vessel we hold. Perhaps you recognize the woman who lives in a state of perpetual anxiety. She wakes up, and the first thing she feels is a knot in her stomach, a low hum of dread. She checks her bank account compulsively, as if staring at it will change the numbers. Every email notification might be a bill, every phone call a demand. She speaks the language of lack as her native tongue. I can't afford that. That's too expensive. There's never enough. I have to save every penny for a rainy day. And so, the universe, in its infinite and impersonal love, faithfully delivers to her a reality that matches her words. A rainy day always comes. An unexpected expense always appears just as she gets a little ahead. A raise at work is immediately swallowed by a broken appliance or a sudden repair. She is holding a thimble, riddled with holes of fear, and she wonders why it never stays full. She is spending her divine currency of attention and belief on the reality of not enough. And life, like a perfect mirror, reflects not enough back to her. Her hands are clenched into a fist, trying to hold on to what little she has, and a closed fist cannot receive. Or perhaps you recognize the woman who lives with a quiet, corrosive guilt. When someone gives her a beautiful gift, her first thought is, "Oh, you shouldn't have. This is too much." When she receives a bonus, she feels an immediate, uncomfortable pressure, a sense that she doesn't truly deserve it, that it was a fluke, a mistake. She minimizes her abundance. She explains it away. If someone offers to pay for her dinner, she feels indebted, as if she now owes them something she can never quite repay. She is uncomfortable with ease. She believes deep in the bedrock of her soul that her worth is tied to her struggle. So when abundance arrives with grace, without a fight, it feels foreign, unearned, illegitimate. She is telling the universe, I am not a worthy vessel for this level of good. She is communicating, through her emotional response, this makes me uncomfortable. Please don't send it again. And the universe, which only wants to bring you what aligns with your true signal, begins to slow the flow. The gifts become smaller, the opportunities less frequent, not as a punishment, but in response to her own broadcast. She is holding a beautiful cup, but she believes it is meant for someone else, and so she keeps tipping it over, pouring its contents onto the ground. And then there is the woman who is deeply spiritual. She meditates. She is kind. She is devoted to her inner growth. But she holds a secret, painful belief that desire is wrong, that wanting money is greedy or unevolved. She has created a false dichotomy in her mind, God or money, spirit or substance. She tells herself noble stories about the virtue of poverty. She romanticizes the starving artist. She looks at wealthy people with a subtle judgment, a quiet superiority, telling herself, I am above all that. But this, too, is a form of lack consciousness. It is a belief system that denies the wholeness of life. It is an attempt to make God small, to suggest that the creator of galaxies, of peacock feathers, of sprawling, lush rainforests, somehow wants his beloved children to live in a state of self-imposed limitation, to believe that the source of all opulence is offended by your desire for beauty, for freedom, for the ability to give generously, for the peace of mind that comes with knowing all your needs are met. This is the most subtle trap of all, using spirituality as a justification for scarcity. She has built a dam between herself and the ocean of supply, and she has labeled that dam enlightenment. She does not realize that true spirituality is not about denying the material world, but about infusing it with the light of spiritual truth, the truth that supply is infinite, and you are worthy of it all. Look at these patterns. Feel them without judgment, with a deep and profound compassion for the woman you have been. Because here is the great empowering revelation, the moment of your awakening. You have been using this law perfectly all along. Your power has been working flawlessly. The belief in lack has produced a perfect harvest of lack. The belief in guilt has produced a perfect reflection of unworthiness. The belief in the unspirituality of wealth has produced a perfect reality of just enough to get by. Do you see? You are not broken. You are not a victim. You are not powerless. You are a master manifester. You are an astonishingly powerful creator who has simply been creating from a blueprint of limitation. And the same power that has so faithfully created what you do not want can now be consciously, deliberately, and lovingly redirected to create everything you do want. This is not a moment for shame. This is the moment you reclaim your power. It is the moment you walk into the control room of your own mind, look at the switches and levers, and realize you have been in charge the entire time. You just didn't know it. Now you know. And everything is about to change. So how do we begin? How do we change the blueprint? How do we expand the vessel? We do it not with struggle, but with sacred practice, with gentle, consistent, and deliberate choices. And now we begin. Not with pressure, not with force, but with presence. Here are 3 simple, sacred steps to begin rewriting your law of supply. The first step is the clearing of accounts. So much of our energy around money is tangled up in the past. Debts we owe, debts others owe us. Financial mistakes we replay in our minds, punishing ourselves over and over. This is all dead weight. It is static in the channel. Today we clear it all. Find a quiet moment, close your eyes, and speak these words, or words that feel true to you, into the silence of your own heart. I now forgive all debts. I release every person, every institution, every circumstance that I have ever believed owes me anything. I wipe the slate clean. All accounts are settled in the mind of God. I release them and I let them go. They are free, and I am free. Feel that. Now turn that grace inward. I now forgive myself for every financial mistake I have ever made, for every perceived failure, for every moment of fear. I was doing the best I could with the consciousness I had at the time. I release all self-blame, all guilt, and all regret. I am washed clean by grace. My account with myself is settled. I am free. Breathe that in. You cannot build a new temple of abundance on a foundation of old resentment and guilt. This step clears the ground. The second step is the active word. Your words are wands. They are commands sent out into the ether, shaping the substance around you. You must become a vigilant guardian of the words you speak about money, prosperity, and supply. You must stop animating the monster of lack with your language. This requires gentle awareness. When you find yourself about to say, "I can't afford it," catch it and choose a new truth. Try this instead. I choose not to purchase that right now. My money is flowing toward other powerful investments. Or, I see that beautiful thing, and I affirm that divine supply can bring it to me if it is mine by divine right. Instead of saying, "This is so expensive," say, "I give thanks for the value this represents." When a bill arrives, do not greet it with dread. Look at it and say, "I give thanks for this opportunity to circulate divine substance. I bless this bill, and I see it paid in full." You are flipping a circuit in your mind. You are moving from the language of the victim to the language of the master. You are no longer describing a reality of lack. You are commanding a reality of abundance. The third step is the grateful outflow. The universe operates on circulation. Stagnant energy creates disease. Hoarding creates poverty. The flow must go out for the flow to come in. You must learn to give, and the amount does not matter. It is the consciousness behind the giving that does the work. When you leave a tip, leave it with a blessing. See it in your mind's eye multiplying for the person who receives it. Feel the joy of being a channel for good. When you buy groceries, give thanks for the abundance of the earth, for the hands that harvested it, for the ability to nourish your body. When you give a gift, release it completely. Let it be a true offering with no energetic strings of expectation attached. Every time money leaves your hand, bless it. Say, "I release you with joy and love. Go out and bless the world and return to me pressed down, shaken together, and running over." You are changing your relationship with spending. It is no longer a loss. It is a sacred act of seeding. You are demonstrating your faith in the infinite, inexhaustible ocean of supply. You are signaling to the universe, "I know there is more where that came from." To anchor these practices deep within your subconscious mind, where the real creative work is done, use the power of affirmation. Speak these truths over yourself in the morning, in the evening, in moments of doubt. Say with me, in the quiet of your heart, "My supply is infinite, flowing to me from an inexhaustible source. I am a magnet for divine riches, and I give thanks for my overflowing good." Feel the truth of this one. I release all fear of lack and impress upon my subconscious mind the reality of abundance. Every channel is free, every bill is paid, my ship comes in over a calm sea. And embody this deep knowing. I am a perfect child of God, and I am worthy of all the richness, beauty, and joy that life has to offer. I spend in peace and plenty. Let this pure faith rush through you. Divine supply knows no delay. My good is rushing to me now. And declare this new law of being. I do not chase, I align. I do not beg, I command. I do not fear, I remember. Now, a word of loving encouragement for the journey ahead. As you begin this work, you may not see dramatic outer changes overnight. In fact, you may experience a period of discomfort. This is not a sign of failure. It is a profound sign of success. Imagine you have lived in a house your whole life with faulty, ancient wiring. The lights have always been dim, and they flicker constantly. Now, you have decided to rewire the entire house. As the electrician begins to pull out the old frayed wires and install new, powerful circuits, what happens? The power might go out completely for a time. Sparks might fly. It might seem darker and more chaotic than before. You might be tempted to say, "This isn't working. It was better before." But the one who understands the process knows this is a necessary phase. The old must be dismantled before the new can be activated. Your old consciousness of lack is that faulty wiring. As you pull it out through your new awareness, your new words, your new practices, it will fight back. Old fears may surface with a surprising intensity. You might even see a temporary contraction in your finances. This is the death rattle of the old pattern. Do not be afraid. Stand firm in your new truth. Know that you are clearing the channel. You are installing a system that is designed to handle a current of light, of abundance, of power that you have never experienced before. Be patient with the germination. When you plant a seed in the earth, you do not dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You trust the process. You water the soil. You know that life is at work in the darkness, preparing for a magnificent emergence into the light. Trust the process within you. The truth is, you are not broken. You have never been separate from your good. You have only been dreaming that you were. And today, right now, in this moment, you are waking up. You are remembering the truth of who you are. You are not a beggar, pleading with a stingy universe for scraps. You are the beloved heir to an infinite kingdom, and the key to that kingdom is not outside of you. It is your own consciousness. It is the belief you hold in your heart. Today, a choice is before you. You can continue to believe the old, tired story of scarcity, the story that you are small and life is hard and there is never enough. Or you can pick up the pen. You can stand in your power as the writer, the lawgiver of your own experience. And you can write a new law upon your heart, a law of abundance, a law of ease, a law of grace, a law of divine inheritance. The choice is yours. It has always been yours. Leave a comment below and declare it for yourself, for the universe, for the woman you are becoming. Write, "My supply is my own consciousness." Speak it into being. Anchor it in this world. And now, take one final deep breath and ask yourself with profound honesty, what is the one story about money you are ready to release right now in this moment? And what truth are you choosing to embody instead? What if the conversation you're having about money is already a prayer? What if every sigh over a bill, every whispered worry, every casual "I'm broke" is not just talk, but a command the universe is obeying? And what if you could learn a new language? One that doesn't beg, but declares. One that doesn't hope, but knows. The world has taught you to believe your financial reality is a result of your job, your efforts, your luck. But the truth is, the architect of your abundance, or your lack, is the silent, steady monologue running within your own mind and the words that pass your lips each day. This new language, this language of command, speaks directly to the substance of the universe and calls forth the supply that is already, divinely, yours. By the end of our time together, you will hold the sacred keys to this language. You will understand not just that your words have power, but how to wield that power with grace and authority. You will learn to speak to your finances, to command your world, and to release the divine provision that has been waiting for you all along, dissolving the weight of debt, multiplying your resources, and opening new streams of supply. This is not a financial strategy. This is a spiritual awakening, and it begins now. Listen closely, beloved, for this is the foundational truth upon which all magnificent lives are built. The spiritual law of this universe is one of creation, and its primary tool is the spoken word. The great teacher Florence Scovel Shinn once said, "Man's word is his wand, filled with magic and power." This is not a poetic sentiment. It is a statement of immutable spiritual physics. Your words are not empty sounds that dissipate into the air. They are vessels. They are containers of energy, of intention, of belief. Every word you speak is a blueprint, an instruction given to the subtle, intelligent substance of the universe, which has no choice but to build according to the plan you provide. The world teaches us to speak from the outside in. We look at the bank account and we describe what we see. We receive a bill and we report on its size and its threat. We experience a setback and we tell the story of our struggle, our disappointment, our fear. We become journalists of our own perceived reality, describing the problem in vivid, painful detail, believing this is honesty, believing this is truth. But this is not the way of the conscious creator. This is not the path of the woman who knows her divine inheritance. As a being made in the image and likeness of the divine creator, you are called to a higher way of living, a way of speaking from the inside out. You are not here to merely report on the world as it appears. You are here to decree the world as you desire it to be. This is the essence of a bold declaration of faith. It is the act of calling forth things that are not yet visible as though they already were. It is the courage to stand in a reality of lack and speak with unwavering conviction of your abundance. It is the wisdom to look upon a mountain of debt and, instead of describing its intimidating height, command it to be moved. When you declare, "I am prosperous, I am blessed, I am divinely supplied," in the face of an empty wallet, you are not lying. You are prophesying. You are speaking a higher truth that cancels out the lesser fact. You are sending a new blueprint to the universal builder, a new command to the obedient servant of your subconscious mind. You must understand the profound difference between a plea and a command. A plea is born from a sense of lack. It is the prayer of a beggar hoping for a scrap from the table. It says, "Please, I hope, I wish." It reinforces the very energy of neediness and separation from your good. A command, however, is an exercise of your delegated spiritual authority. It is born from a deep inner knowing of your oneness with the source of all supply. It does not beg. It declares. It does not hope. It knows. A command says, "It is so." It is the firm, calm, unwavering declaration of the divine will working through you here on earth, just as it is in the invisible realm of infinite possibility. You are not begging an external God to provide for you. You are aligning yourself with the ever-present, ever-flowing stream of divine good and commanding your world to reflect this inner alignment. Your words are the tool you use to carve the channels through which this abundance can flow. Now let us speak of the inner world, for that is where all outer worlds are born. Before we can build the new, we must first have the courage to look upon the old. We must understand the quiet pain that has been directing your life until now. I know that voice, the one that whispers in the dead of night, calculating and recalculating the numbers, a knot of ice forming in your stomach. The voice that says, "There isn't enough." I know the subtle shame that washes over you when a friend suggests a dinner you cannot afford. The quick, practiced smile that hides the internal flinch. The feeling of being on the outside, looking in at a life of ease that feels so impossibly far away. I know the heavy sigh when you walk to the mailbox, bracing yourself for another envelope edged in red. The way your heart sinks just a little, another confirmation of the story you've been told. You are in debt. You are behind. You are struggling. I know the internal monologue when you see a beautiful object, a nourishing experience, a chance for expansion, and the immediate, reflexive thought that follows. I can't afford that. Two small words, spoken internally with such certainty that they become a locked door, a cage. This is the trance of lack. It is a painful, exhausting state of being. You have been taught to see these feelings as a logical response to your circumstances. You have a bill, so you feel worry. Your account is low, so you feel fear. It seems to make sense. But here is the truth you must understand. The worry was not born from the bill. The bill was born from a long-held pattern of worry. The empty account is not the cause of your fear. It is the physical manifestation of a deep, abiding belief in insufficiency. You have been living in a feedback loop where your outer world simply confirms the fears of your inner world, and your inner world reacts to the outer world with more fear. Round and round it goes. The mountain of debt grows larger not because you are lazy or unworthy, but because you have been feeding it with the energy of your attention, your fear, and your words. Every time you say, "I'm so broke," you are casting a vote for more brokenness. Every time you complain about your expenses, you are placing an order for more things to complain about. Every time you share your story of financial struggle, you are solidifying its foundations, making it more real, more permanent. The mountain of insufficient income feels immovable because you have been speaking about it instead of speaking to it. You have been treating it like a permanent feature of your landscape, a geological fact rather than what it truly is. A temporary accumulation of energy held in place by your belief and your language. Your unexpected expenses feel like a constant attack because, on some deep level, you have been expecting them. The subconscious mind, your faithful servant, hears your underlying fear of, "What if something goes wrong?" and dutifully arranges circumstances to match your deepest belief. It doesn't judge. It simply obeys. This is the painful hidden engine that has been running your financial life. It is a spiritual battle being fought with the weapons of thoughts, beliefs, and, most powerfully, words. But the enemy is not an external force plotting against you. The spiritual enemy is a deeply ingrained mindset, a poverty consciousness, a trance of limitation that you were likely born into, that has been passed down through generations, that is reinforced by the world around you every single day. It is a lie. A powerful lie, yes. A convincing illusion, absolutely. But a lie nonetheless. And today, you awaken from that trance. Now listen closely, for this is the moment of your reclamation. This is the turning point. The truth is, you are already a master of this spiritual law. You have been using it perfectly, flawlessly, your entire life. The creative power of your word has been working all along. You have simply been directing it, unconsciously, toward outcomes that bring you pain. Let that sink in. This is not a moment for shame. This is a moment for profound empowerment. You are not broken. You have not failed. You have simply been unaware of the immense power you wield. You are like a queen who has forgotten her authority, living as a pauper in her own palace, unaware that the entire kingdom awaits her command. The law is impartial. It works just as powerfully for lack as it does for abundance. It brings poverty with the same efficiency it brings wealth. The soil of the universe grows whatever seed you plant. It does not judge the seed. It simply grows it. You have been planting seeds of worry, doubt, and fear, and you have naturally harvested a garden of lack. Today you realize you are the gardener. This awareness changes everything. It moves you from the position of a victim to the position of a creator. It takes the power away from your circumstances. your boss, the economy, your past, and places it firmly back where it has always belonged, in your own mind, on your own tongue. You have been given spiritual authority. This is your divine birthright. When the great masters spoke of the authority given to humankind, it was not merely for healing the sick or performing grand miracles. It was for the dominion over one's own life, one's own world, one's own experience. And that includes your finances. In the old way of thinking, you might see your financial struggles as a purely economic problem. You believe the solution lies in a better job, a different budget, a new investment strategy. And while those things have their place, they are branches, not the root. They do not address the spiritual foundation of your reality. The truth is, financial hardship, debt, and poverty are spiritual conditions before they are physical ones. They are manifestations of a consciousness of lack. They are an energy, a frequency, and you have been given the authority to command that energy to leave your presence. Think of it this way. A police officer directing traffic does not need to be physically stronger than the cars. Her power is not her own. She stands as a representative of a larger authority, the law of the city. When she raises her hand, the cars stop not because of her personal might, but because of the authority she represents. In the same way, when you speak to your financial situation, you are not speaking with your own limited personal power. You are not trying to think positive or muster up some fragile willpower. You are standing in the authority of the divine. You are speaking as a child of the King, an heir to the kingdom. You are aligning with the immutable laws of the universe and commanding the lower energies of lack and poverty to release their grip on your life. This is not an authority you must earn. It is a gift you must accept. It is a power that is accessed through faith, the quiet, steady belief in the unseen. And it is exercised through your bold, unwavering declarations. You do not have to be a victim of your circumstances any longer. You can be the victor. When the bill arrives, you do not have to tremble in fear. You can hold it in your hand and speak to the spirit of debt, commanding it to be dissolved and paid in full. When your bank account looks empty, you do not have to accept it as the final word. You can look at the number and declare with quiet conviction, "This is an illusion. My God is my supply, and my supply is infinite. Every need is met, instantly and abundantly." This is not about pretending a problem doesn't exist. It is about rising to a higher level of truth where the problem has no power. It is an act of sovereign faith that says, "I believe what the divine says about me more than I believe what my temporary circumstances show me. I will not let the shadows define my reality." You are a creator. You are an heir. And it is time to claim your authority. So how do we begin to walk in this new reality? How do we translate this profound truth into a daily, sacred practice? We begin with simple, gentle, yet powerful steps. This is not about striving or forcing. It is about a soft, rhythmic turning of your attention and your words toward the truth of your being. The first sacred step, the audit of the tongue. For the next 24 hours, you are to become a gentle, loving observer of your own words. Carry a small notebook or use a notes app on your phone. Your only task is to notice. Notice every time you speak a word of lack. Notice the "I can't afford it." Notice the "I'm so broke." Notice the "there's never enough money." Notice the sighs of worry. Notice the complaints about prices. Notice when you tell the old, tired story of your financial struggle to a friend. Do not judge yourself. Do not shame yourself. Simply write it down. Just notice. This is a practice of awareness. You are simply turning on the light in a room that has been dark for a very long time. You are lovingly identifying the weeds in your garden before you begin to plant the new seeds. Most women are shocked by what they discover. They find that the language of lack is so automatic, so deeply ingrained, that they are speaking it dozens, even hundreds of times a day, without even realizing it. This first step is the Great Awakening. It is the moment you see, with undeniable clarity, the blueprints you have been handing to the universe. The second sacred step, the divine decree. Once you have become aware of the old language, you can begin to consciously choose the new one. This is the practice of the bold declaration, the divine decree. This is where you write your new story. I want you to write down 2 or 3 powerful Florence-style affirmations on a small card. Place this card somewhere you will see it constantly, on your bathroom mirror, by your computer, in your car. These are not just positive thoughts. These are statements of divine law. They are your new commands. Choose words that resonate with a feeling of peace, relief, and truth. Here are a few to begin with. I am now in the flow of divine abundance. All my needs are met, and my world is filled with plenty. Every channel of supply is open to me. My cup runneth over. I am a magnet for divine prosperity. I give thanks for my immediate and ever-increasing supply. All financial doors are open. All financial roads are clear. Your practice is simple. Every time you catch yourself speaking or thinking the old language of lack, you gently stop, you take a breath, and you read your card aloud. You replace the old blueprint with the new one. In the beginning, this will feel like a conscious effort. You might say the words, and a part of your mind might argue back, but look at the bank account. This isn't true. Acknowledge that voice. See it as the death cry of the old belief system. And then, calmly and firmly, speak your truth again. You are not trying to convince your rational mind. You are impressing a new truth upon the fertile soil of your subconscious mind, which accepts what it is told repeatedly and with conviction. You are training your tongue, and therefore your mind, to speak the language of your soul, the language of abundance. The third sacred step, speaking to the mountain. This is where your faith becomes active and focused. The great teacher did not say to pray about the mountain, to analyze the mountain, or to complain about the mountain. He said to speak to the mountain. Your financial lack is a mountain. It is an accumulation of old beliefs and old words, and it is subject to your new authority. I invite you into this practice. Take a physical representation of your mountain. It could be an unpaid bill. It could be a credit card statement. It could be your online banking page pulled up on the screen. Hold it in your hands. Look at it. See it not as a threat, but as an opportunity to exercise your spiritual authority. And then, speak to it, directly, not with anger, not with fear, but with the calm, quiet conviction of a queen giving a command. Say to the bill, "You are not a debt. You are an illusion of lack. I speak the word of abundance over you. You are paid in full. You are dissolved and rendered harmless. I command you to disappear from my world. In the name of my divine authority, it is done." Say to the bank account, "You are not a measure of my worth or my supply. You are a channel, and I command you to open wide to the river of divine abundance that flows to me now. You are filled to overflowing. You are a vessel of plenty." Your words are the shovel that moves the mountain. Each time you speak to your circumstances with authority, you are digging away at the foundation of lack. You are commanding the physical world to realign itself with the higher spiritual truth you have chosen. This is not a game. This is the work of a master creator, reclaiming her world. Do this daily. Make it a ritual. Be consistent. You are not looking for instant magical fireworks. You are doing the steady sacred work of rewriting your reality, one word at a time. Now, let us speak of the space in between, the sacred pause between planting the seed and seeing the sprout. This is the place where most people falter. This is the test of your faith. When you begin this practice, When you start speaking your new language of abundance, you must understand that the outer world may not change overnight. The seeds you have planted in the soil of your mind need time to germinate in the darkness. The new blueprint has been submitted, but the old structure may still be standing for a short while as the new foundation is being laid. This is a critical time. You may speak your decrees of abundance, and then, an hour later, receive an unexpected bill. The old mind, the ego, will scream, "See, it's not working. This is foolishness. Your problems are real." This is the moment of your most important choice. You must learn to see this resistance not as a sign of failure, but as a sign of success. The discomfort, the appearance of contradiction, is evidence that you are shifting. You have changed the inner vibration, and the old reality is now out of alignment with your new frequency. It is thrashing about, trying to pull you back into the familiar pattern. Think of it like flipping a massive switch. You have thrown the lever to abundance, but the old machinery of lack takes a moment to power down. It groans and sparks as it comes to a halt. Do not be frightened by the noise. Stand firm in your knowing that the new power is already surging through the wires. Or think of it as a garden. You have spent years allowing weeds of poverty consciousness to grow unchecked. Now, you have diligently pulled them and planted the beautiful seeds of divine truth. For a few days, the garden may still look like bare earth. It might not look much different than it did before. But you, the wise gardener, know that beneath the surface, a miracle is happening. Roots are forming. Life is stirring. You do not dig up your seeds every day to see if they are growing. You trust the process. You continue to water them with your faith and your words. During this transitional period, your only job is to remain faithful to your new language. When the illusion of lack appears, do not engage it. Do not argue with it. Simply see it, acknowledge it as the last echo of an old reality, and calmly restate your truth. Despite this appearance, I know that my world is filled with abundance. Reassure yourself. Be gentle with yourself. You are rewiring decades of conditioned thinking. It is a profound and sacred undertaking. You are not broken. You are simply remembering the truth of who you are. The outer change is a sign of internal success. The slowness of the shift is not a reason to doubt. It is an invitation to deepen your trust. Keep planting the seeds. Keep flipping the switch. Keep tending the new soil of your mind. The harvest is assured. And so, we arrive at this present moment. A moment of truth and a moment of choice. You have heard the word today. You understand now that your financial struggle has never been just a worldly problem, but a spiritual one. And you have learned that you are not and have never been powerless against it. You now hold the sacred weapons of your own divine authority, the bold declaration of faith, the power to speak to the mountain of lack, and the unshakable promise of a spiritual covenant that guarantees your prosperity. But none of this knowledge will transform your world if you do not first make a decision. A clear, conscious, unwavering decision to cast down the stronghold of the poverty mentality in your own mind. The time for timid prayers is over. The time for lamenting your circumstances has passed. Today you make a new choice, a decision to stand on the immutable law of your own being, to declare your divine rights, and to command your finances, your world, your entire reality to come into alignment with the will of the divine source that flows through you. Do not let your feelings, your five senses, or your past experiences dictate your reality any longer. Let the truth you have heard today be the final authority in your life. Remember, the mountain has to move. The debt has to be broken. The lack has to flee. Why? Because you have spoken to it. You have commanded it in the name of your own divine I Am presence, the name that is above every other name and every other condition. So go forth now from this place, not with fear, but with a quiet anointing of confidence. Go forth and watch as the universe rearranges itself to match your new word. It has no choice. It must obey. You are not broken. You are remembering. You are not lacking. You are awakening to the infinite supply that has always been yours. I invite you now to make a public declaration of your new authority. In the comments below, as an act of faith and a command to the universe, simply write the words, "I speak to my world, and my world obeys." Let this be your line in the sand. The moment you stopped being a reporter of your circumstances and began your reign as the conscious creator of your life. And as you move through your day, hold this one question gently in your heart. From this day forward, what new story will my words write for me?